लोग हैं
अंदर ले आओ, अंदर हमारा हॉल अंदर ले
कितने लग जाएंगे?
तो हमारा स्टॉक वाला जो है उनका स्टॉक जो है वो ये हमारे ये कह रहे स्टॉल वाले को हमारा स्टॉल वाला तो कोई नहीं आया अभी।
बुलाओ जल्दी से, सामान लेके अंदर आए। बैग
3-4 बार फाइन नाम कौन देखना है आपको? एसी क्यों मिला?
Hello check, mic check. Hello check 1 1 2 3. Hello. Hello check, mic check. Okay.
ये येलो लाइट है, ये नहीं
येलो हो गया, वाइट कर दो।
हाँ
वाइट
कर दो या ब्लू ही कर दो।
ब्लू कर दो।
हाँ नदीम भाई सेकंड फुटिंग
बताइए। Healthy criticism, your healthy input, which has led to come to this stage. We have strived hard to come to this stage, and we have followed a regime which was very well said by Jack Ma, the founder of Alibaba and the richest man of China. What he said, I think every word is a pound of gold. What he said is that on 20 to 30, when you start your career, you should choose a good boss, a good company, and stick to it for at least 5 years, so that you should know the ins and outs of the subject. When you are 30 to 40, you can start a new venture. For example, if you are a general orthopedic surgeon, you can start arthroplasty, you can go to anywhere, hand surgery, etc. Because at that time you can afford to lose. When you are 40 to 50, then you should do only those things for which you are good at. Because then you will have to perform in a better way. When you are above 50, then you should start teaching your juniors and the tricks of the trade. Because at that time, it's your responsibility to bring up your juniors so that they can share a platform with you. And you should feel proud when they are sharing a platform with you. When you are above 60, you should teach the ins and outs of the subject which is not written in books, and enjoy your life with your grandchildren. I think that is the basic crux. We have followed it since 2003 and we have come to this stage. We cannot team is not the team by professionals or by professionals, it's a team by heart. And we work day in and day out to come to this stage. My friend Dr. Vishal Agarwal, I request all my KANPUR core members to come to this dais. Dr. Vinay Gupta, Dr. A.S. Prashant, Mr. Kapoor. The many here are medicos and Amit Verma. We are the core committee. It doesn't mean that this is the core committee which is only working. I think everyone represents at least 10 people. This program we cannot think of without the contribution of our Lucknow counterparts. And it is their love by what we are over here. I think they also need a round of applause, the Lucknow people. Here all are medicos, but before this, Mr. Rajiv Bajpayee and Mr. Ashish Kapoor, they are the pillars of this. तो लाइक प्रोडक्शन टीम ने कैमरामैन, अब तो टीवी में होने लगा कि कैमरामैन के साथ, हम तो कैमरामैन के साथ ही कैमरामैन के बिना ही नहीं सोच सकते. So these are the fellows who are the four pillars, and because of this program has come to this stage. Now I call upon Dr. A.S. Prashad to say a few words. Before that I cannot resist myself saying a couplet, because we are here to learn. And without any conference, we learn a lot. The faculty learns from the delegates and delegates learn from the faculty. मैं बस इतना कह सकता हूँ, वक्त भी ये कैसी एक पहेली दे गया, वक्त भी ये कैसी एक पहेली दे गया, उलझने को जिंदगी और समझने को उम्र दे गया.
Hosting the meeting in Lucknow, and we have been doing it for umpteen years now. We started the first course in 2005. The idea was given in 2003. And very surprised, the whole concept of teaching joint replacement came to me because when I was trying to learn, that's 88, in 1988, after just doing 3 years, I think that was the 3rd year, I was very clear in my MSc also that joint replacement is a very gratifying surgery. And in 1988, I started trying to learn joint replacement, and I was asked not to by many surgeons. What you will do in KANPUR? Nobody will get joint replacement done in UP. That was the standard answers. Anyhow, I was supported by many eminent people who thought that yes, you should learn joint replacement. One of them was Dr. Harish Mendes, father-in-law, Dr. Nandu Lal, and Dr. Mani in Delhi. These two were very promoting doctors. And I was like, in any meeting, I'll go to Dr. Lal with a couple of X-rays, sir, isme kya karna hai, something like that. And he will come out and patiently tell me what to do. Dr. Mani was a little aggressive, but once he took me, okay, then he was really promoting me in North. I learned the tricks, I kept on trying, and after every fellowship I thought, oh, I was lucky in those days. So the things were happening. I thought that people in my area, in central India, must learn joint placement because it is a surgery which was bound to increase in number. Because only one thing, the outcome is fantastic. If you do a good joint placement, it changes the whole lifestyle of a person. So we started this in 2005. In 2003, two people, in fact, motivated me to start this. Both were from Debut, which is Johnson Johnson now. One was Mr. Sen and the another was Sushovan Das Gupta. I was in Phuket and then they said, why don't you start something on the line of Bombay joint placement course, Arthroplasty course. And with that aim in mind, we started the KANPUR Arthroplasty course. We are proud that we could do this in every year. We have trained a lot of doctors, apart from the doctors who come and stay with me for 3 weeks to 3 months to even 1 year. And we keep on sending them to other doctors as well who are doing joint replacement. We have come over the years and we have done this course beyond KANPUR on many times. Mainly they have been KANPUR trauma course. But to name a few, we have done one course in Dubai, one course in Srinagar with the help of Srinagar Jammu Kashmir Orthopedic Association. We were jointly did a course. One course we have done in Dubrovnik. That was more for fun, but yes, we could do for 1 day course. And Lucknow this time, and every course we are doing in a different way. We are graduating, we are going away from the basics of orthoplasty to more of how to get a better outcome with a technique base. We are getting away from the theory part because we assume that the theory is now, we all can read, the literature is available readily. So we are going away from the theory part, we are going to the tips and pearls and more of interaction. The sharing of data, sharing of knowledge, that is the focus. So the agenda is based on those simple things. At knee replacement, you will find varus knee, what we do differently in varus, simple. We have to apply our mind. What are the problems, Dr. Head? Dr. Mende will talk about simple bone grafting, whether we need a graft, we don't need a graft, what are the guidelines, how to get a better balanced knee. So somehow very different lectures we have kept. Our focus today will be more on case discussion, where we will share ideas of different faculty and you all, how to do things differently and how we can achieve a better result. We did it this time in Lucknow as the destiny. I'll tell you why it was in Lucknow. I always do it in KANPUR. And this time we're missing one thing because we used to show minimum 4 live surgeries in 2 days. This time there's no live surgery. However, I'll be showing one of my videos. It was planned to facilitate one of my faculty to go back to USA because he was supposed to fly tonight. That was Dr. Amarana. The date was kept to keep him in mind because he was supposed to attend the Nagpur meeting and then fly on Saturday to Lucknow and then fly back to US on Sunday. Unfortunately, he is not coming. And unfortunately, the reason for which he is not coming is even still worse. You will be surprised to know he lost his younger brother just 5 days back. Yesterday was his funeral, and that was accidental then. It's unfortunate. It's a very sorrow time. And what I've been told that Dr. Ranawat is having a very bad time because losing a son in an accidental death is not very acceptable. But anyway, that's how the life moves on. So friends, again, at the end, it's you all which keeps us moving. The whole core group, this group was founded in 2005. We made a society, very close group in 2007. We are assisted by not many other friends. From not only in Kanpur, from Lucknow, my friends are there. Arun Lal is here, Harish Bakra is there in Lucknow. We have Sanjeev Jaiswal in Raebareli. They are all part of a core group. We have got Agra, a couple of doctors. And two people who have been consistently with me all the time were Dr. Sanjay Agrawal to start with and Professor Jha. Professor Jha is again here and he is going to be our chief guest today. He is the patron of the society also. We would like to honor him that his guidance is very important. I always talk to him about the dates. He has to be open, then only we keep the dates. At the end, I just wish you will have a beautiful time. And the first time I am happy Dr. Rajesh Jain and Dr. Amit Verma both are attending the meeting, because otherwise they were always in the operation theatre and they were talking from there only. This time, the first time Dr. Rajesh Jain, who is an anesthetist with me since 1987, when I just started my practice. So that's, I think, almost how many years I don't know. And he's a permanent fixture, everyone knows. Even if he leaves the station, he goes out, it is his responsibility to provide an anesthetist. I don't want to call anyone, he will call anyone and that's his responsibility. That the person who comes in lieu of him should be good. Dr. Amit Verma is with me since last 20 years and there are so many people who have worked with me, helped me in doing my practice. And as Dr. Anand Nigam said, you have to plan everything with the age. And I read a very important article in my early years of life, how to plan your landing. That was in Reader's Digest. And I think that gave a lot of thoughts. And that's why I do live my life very well, I think, from my standards. And it is not only limited to joint placement and orthopedics. It's much beyond that. And friends, that will come in interaction. And you can always watch my surgical videos on my channel, YouTube channel, Dr. A. Prasad, you can type Amal Shankar Prasad. My first name is Amal, that's a Bengali accent because my family is from Bihar and half of I studied in Rourkela. I came to Kanpur to study MBBS and MS. Before that, my whole study has been in Rourkela, which is again Bengali dominated Odia people. So, I feel proud that I know so many languages, I think 5, including Bhojpuri, which is Bihari. So, every one of you must try to plan your landing, and as very rightly said by Dr. Nigam, 30 to 40 is the time when you find what is your love in orthopedics. I did the same. So thanks, I hope you'll have a very nice time till evening and we'll be interacting a lot. Thank you, thanks for coming.
Chairperson Dr. S.S. Hassan, Dr. Anand Tiwari, and Dr.
years back, and now it has really not only graduated, I would say it has gone further ahead. So without wasting any time, I call upon the first speaker, Dr. P. Hansekar Raja, to talk on simple various TKA stepwise execution. Dr. Raja, please.
Morning, everybody. Also, I would like to congratulate Prasad and his team for continuously running the course for the last 7 years. I'm very happy to participate in the 11th course. We'll start with varus disease. Varus disease is one of the commonest deformities of varus disease. It can be anything like a small, simple anteromedial arthritis where we now do a unicompartment knee replacement, or patient with a severe varus deformity with bone defect with ligament instability. So, when you see a patient with varus deformity, there is medial soft tissue contracture, lateral laxity, they walk with a lateral tibial thrust, and they can also have compensatory foot and ankle deformity. So we need to see the patient walking to actually see the better anatomy in these patients. And problems with varus knees, you can have a joint line elevation, maybe you can over-release and cause instability, or under-release can lead to excessive medial loading and early component failure, soft tissue contractions and kinematic abnormalities. So we follow the principles of total knee replacement. We restore the alignment both in coronal and sagittal plane, ligament balancing in both medial-lateral and anteroposterior plane. Achieve durable fixation of the components and balance the development joint as well. So pre-operative assessment, we need to know whether the deformity is correctable or fixed. We do a varus stress test. And both these two varus deformities are similar, 27 to 30 degrees. But one side has bone defects which is easily correctable with minimal soft tissue release. So in these cases, with a correctable deformity, won't require much of soft tissue release. The other situation where there is severe soft tissue contracture, we need to do excessive release and put a very thick insert. You can see you do a lot of soft tissue release. So we need to decide pre-operatively and under anesthesia, so whether this deformity is correctable or fixed. We generally take as AP, lateral and skyline view. Standing weight bearing X-rays are very important because that will reveal the actual ligamental status and instability. This AP supine X-ray is totally different from the standing X-ray. We always use a long leg alignment X-ray which will help you to assess any extra-articular deformity to allow you to individualize the distal femoral cut for each patient. Some patients have extra-articular deformity due to trauma, or a lot of the Asian patients have constitutional varus. They can have a tibia vara, femoral bone. So long leg alignment X-rays help you to assess all these problems. We do a 2K control, and I generally use a medial parapatellar approach. So once we do a arthrotomy, we start with the anteromedial release, which is standard for all joints. Then we go to the medial capsule and the posteromedial capsule. So generally we remove the ACL, whether to retain the PCL or not, it's an individual preference and how you are trained. Then we subluxe the tibia forward, which is called the Ransel maneuvers. So whether to retain PCL or not, there's a paper from Luskin in 1996 in the CORR. He said when you retain the PCL, there is increased incidence of pain, reduced range of movements and radiolucencies when they compare to the cruciate substituting design. So I generally do a PSC in these patients. And the next step is the removal of the medial osteophyte. The medial osteophyte tend to stretch the MCL and then it increases the varus deformity. Once you remove the medial osteophyte, the length of the MCL is restored and the deformity is corrected. Most of the simple varus can be corrected at this stage itself. So once you remove the medial osteophytes, the joint opens up. Sometimes there can be a lot of osteophytes and the femoral side also denting the MCL. So you need to carefully remove this without damaging the MCL. So I start with the extension gap balancing first. I do a tibial cut first. And if you have a severe lateral opening like this, you generally remove only 6 mm bone. Normally you remove 8 to 9 mm bone from the proximal tibia. But in case of severe varus, we remove 6 mm from the proximal tibia. So whether to do tibia first or femur first, it is individual training and preference. I do tibia first. I use extramedullary jig centered on the ankle to the center of the proximal tibia. And where to choose, generally the proximal tibia has to be placed in the center of the tibial plateau. But sometimes we can have a bowing of the tibia where the center of the tibial plateau does not correspond to the center of the mechanical axis. So sometimes we need to lateralize to the lateral tibial spine. This we published in Knee this year, July 2019. So patients with the bowing, we tend to lateralize the proximal tibial reference and then we use the drop rod to see whether the alignment is okay or not. Tibial slope, PFC sigma, the slope is 3 degrees, so I tend to use 3 degrees jig. The jig has 0.35 option. I use a 3 degree jig, and the jig has to be parallel to the shin. If it is parallel to the shin, it reproduces the slope. You want to increase, you can move the distance away from the ankle. So once you do the tibial dissection, the bone looks like this. More bone is removed on the lateral side, hardly any bone is removed on the medial side. So sometimes we have a big bone defect. You should never cut up to the level of the defect. You always undercut the defect and try to build up the defect with the bone grafts or cement. When we come to the distal femoral dissection, we use an intramedullary jig, and I use the individualized valgus correction angle. I use a long X-ray to measure the valgus correction angle for each patient. The intramedullary jig goes through the femoral anatomical axis, The difference between the mechanical axis and anatomical axis is measured and used. Generally, 5 to 6 degrees is the standard, but patient with severe varus usually it is more than 6 or 7 degrees because of the associated bowing. So we do use this intramedullary to evaluate correction angle, 9mm resection. The entry point is just above the PCL attachment. We make the entry there. So this is an example of bowed femur. This is a straight femur on the right side. You can see severe bowing. A lot of Asian population have this bowing. So this patient has a valgus correction angle of almost 11. So I used 10 degrees in this patient. I was able to restore the mechanical axis to the unit. This we published in CCOT in 2016. So we try to individualize for most of our patients. Then we check the extension gap with the spacer. Usually it is trapezoidal, usually it's right, laterally relaxed. So we assess the gaps. Then we need to know the anatomy of the posteromedial soft tissue structures. The semimembranosus is attached to the posteromedial aspect of the tibia. You can see it sends excursions. And then we need to know the anatomy of the MCL. It has two parts. The deep part of the MCL is attached to just below the joint line, and the superficial part attached distally here. So we need to know this anatomy before we start releasing. The next structure we release is the posteromedial capsule and the semimembranosus in the posteromedial aspect of the tibia. Once you release it, the gap increases. Sometimes patients have associated flexion deformity. Others, generally, it is enough to release the posteromedial capsule. It corrects most of the flexion deformity. This is tight. Still, we tend to lateralize the tibial tray and then remove this excess bone on the medial aspect. It's called medial reduction osteotomy. We remove this excess bone, which will again correct the varus deformity without soft tissue. Described by Dixon in 2004. This is medial reduction osteotomy. We tend to lateralize. You can see the keel is slightly lateralized, not in the center of the proximal tibia. So this helps in reducing the release required. So again, we check with the spacer. Each step you try to check it and go step by step. Then if you are reasonably happy with the balance, then you go to the femoral component sizing. So this is a PH jig. We use it just lateral to the lateral, medial to the lateral flare of the femur. We use this 3 degrees rotation to start with. So if you use a 3 degree fixed rotation, sometimes you can go wrong. So you always cross check the trans epicondylar axis. You mark the medial and lateral epicondyle. Make sure it is parallel. So other methods of assessing the rotation is perpendicular to the y side line. So any of these techniques can be used. With the additional tibial cut available, you can also go parallel to the tibial cut. So you put this 4-in-1 jig, put the spacer and flexion, and assess whether the gaps are equal, both in flexion, medial and laterally. So you put the spacer block, and then check whether it's opening medially and laterally equally. So then we put the trial processes, then you check, we put the knee is still tight in extension, we need to release the posterior capsule and posterior structures. The knee is tight in flexion, you need to release the superficial MCL distally. So you need to identify which part of the range of movement is tight. So the differential release. So once you do that and your joint is well balanced, you can go ahead with the cementing. But sometimes severe varus deformity, we need to go and release the superficial collateral ligament, we MCL distally. This is a pes answeriness attachment, and the superficial MCL is below this. Rarely we need to release the pes. Mostly we can balance with releasing the superficial MCL. But the caution is you should not go beyond 5 centimeters for a female and 6 to 7 centimeters for a male, because it will lead to complete MCL release. If you keep on releasing distally, sometimes the MCL will be completely released and the joint will be unstable. To avoid this problem, Ranavat described this MCL pie-crusting technique. He described the inside-out technique with the scalpel blade, but now we tend to use a small needle and do multiple punctures of the MCL to get a gradual lengthening. So once you put your trial implants, you can, once you're happy with the pedal balancing, you go over to the final implant position. It should be balanced both in flexion and extension. This is an example of a patient done 10 years back, bilateral severe varus, managed with the bilateral TKR, was able to walk. At the end of 10 years, he started running as well, which I asked him not to do. Sometimes we have a bone defect at the end of the procedure which needs to be managed. Most of them can be managed with lateralizing the tibial tray. So most of the defect can be managed with lateralizing the tray. If we have a defect, then we use bone grafts with or without stent to manage. The severe bilateral varus, you will see the bone defect managed with the bone grafts and the stent. This is post-operative X-rays. Sometimes the patient can have pain in the proximal tibia. That means they can have a stress fracture because of varus loading. In those situations, if it is painful and unstable, we use a tibial stem extension and it heals as the time goes by. This is reported in C. Severe varus with lateral ligament stretching, where you cannot balance the mediolateral gap and your flexion action gap is too much, then you can use the constraint type of implant. Rarely it is necessary. It's called a TC3 type of implant. The patient with severe varus with instability, lateral ligament stretching, medial bone defect. In this severe complex deformity, it is always better to have a constraint implant as a backup. Mostly TC3 with the stem extension should be able to manage this situation. This patient is after 1 year, end of 1 year, she is walking comfortably. They take a long time to recover, 6 months to 10 months to recover and walk normally. So one more example of severe varus treated with the constraint type of implant. Medial epidural osteotomy is rarely required when we have excessive tunnel and tibial bovine where we cannot manage the soft tissue release. Both sides medial epidural osteotomy done. This is a post-operative alignment X-ray. Very rarely we repair, but just for the completion's sake, included. Sometimes you can have MCL avulsion, which we fix it with screws. It's a very osteoporotic patient. We also use computer navigation in complex deformities where we can slightly undercorrect the deformity, leave it in mild varus. We should never correct the varus deformity, overcorrect the valgus, and this will cause a lot of instability and poor functional outcome. We compare patients with minimal undercorrection with the neutral alignment. Minimal undercorrection patients recover fast, but end of 1 year there is not much of difference. Both the groups had good functional outcome. To correct the neutral, they struggle to recover, but end of 1 year they do well. So anytime possible, try to correct the patient to neutral alignment. So neutral alignment improves prosthetic longevity, so we always try to correct it in neutral alignment. Foot compensated changes also happen. As you see, this patient is walking on the lateral aspect of the foot because of the compensatory valgus in the ankle. So after surgery, they generally tend to correct. So you can always examine the foot and ankle for stiffness. If they are stiff, they don't correct. So this we assess with the pedobarography and the hindfoot alignment X-rays. And 98% of patients corrected with the foot and ankle supple. So this we published recently, foot loading pattern and hindfoot alignment. The alignment is restored in most of the patients. So it is important to align, measure assess the preoperative foot and ankle status. To conclude, varus knees can be managed with selective medial release and reduction osteotomy. We need to emphasize on equal flexion and extension gap. We need to reconstruct the bone defect appropriately, which will explain in detail with Dr. Harish, and use constraint if required. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Prasad and the entire team for having me here. I think this is the second or third time that I'm coming here, and I've loved the interaction and the hospitality. So my brief today will be to talk about TKA in the valgus knee, approach and techniques. Now if you look at the valgus deformity per se, they constitute only about 10 to 15% of the entire spectrum of total knees that we do. So good understanding of the deformity and the deforming structures is absolutely vital to tackling this problem. And the structures involved are the IT band, the BCL, the LCL and the popliteus. Now Ranawat's classification has gone through 1, 2 and 3, and it depends on whether the MCL is incompetent or not. And Mulati and Shetty have modified this to include a flexion deformity or a severely incompetent MCL. So if you look at structures briefly, there are dynamic and static structures on the lateral side which have to be borne in mind at every step of the release, because what has been responsible for the deformity is very important when we come to the releases. So step 1 is the distal femoral cut. That is invariably only a 3 degree of valgus because the knee is already in significant valgus, and if you notice that there is minimal or no resection of the lateral condyle that happens during this bony resection in a valgus knee. Now if you go to the tibial cut, again there is a very minimal amount of bone taken out laterally. It is almost close to no bone or it's just skies off, and that is what is typical that you've got your cut in the correct direction. The next step is trying to establish your extension gap, and that you realize is tight laterally. And what are the offending structures? It is the posterior capsule and the posterior cruciate ligament that actually play a role at this level, along with the IT band. So at this stage, we need to bear in mind that these are the offending structures that we need to deal with so that we get the correction. So the sequence of release being in extension, lamina spreaders preferably 2, and the IT band and the posterior capsule are released at the level of the tibial cut. Now that has to be done in a very well, carefully and very cautiously performed maneuver. Your blade or your 15 or 11 number blade has to penetrate not more than 5 millimeters to 1 centimeter, and 5 millimeters is advised because that is the level at which you can reduce the incidence of damage to the CPN. And as you use the lamina spreader, if you are holding it, you can feel the give and you can actually grade the sequence of your release. Why we need to be so careful is because of the proximity of the common peroneal nerve to the posterolateral corner. That is anywhere between 13 millimeters to a distance of 23 millimeters. And that has come out with various studies that it's even as close as 10 millimeters alone. So in a nutshell, to be very safe, the release is to be done at the level of the tibial cut, not to stray further away because your chance of injury to the CPN is that much more. Now when we do that, we have to release the IT band as well, and in the initial part of the deformity or early deformity, we need to release only the posterior part of the IT band and the posterior capsule. Now if you are a CR surgeon or if you have not released the PCL by this stage, it should be understood that the PCL is the next offending structure along with the lateral head of the gastrocnemius. So once the IT band release is over, it is our turn to release the PCL, the remaining of the PCL attachment, and also use a blunt instrument to be able to release the lateral head of the gastrocnemius by pushing a blunt instrument, preferably with a mop or with a gauze piece under the femoral condyle so that that is facilitated. In spite of that, if the flexion persists, it is at that time that we think of a small recession of the popliteus or even the lateral structures. But remember, this sequence has to be followed. The IT band, the PCL and the PLC, the posterior capsule, and a controlled release, if possible, of the attachments there. It is only when there is a fixed deformity, which means a fixed flexion deformity, and a fixed valgus of more than 20, then a planning has to be done for a lateral epicondylar osteotomy. And that has to be planned. That is, this decision probably has to be made before surgery. Because if the valgus is more than 20 and if there is a flexion deformity, it is a preferred method of release, especially in the younger patient where you can use less constraint as well. So the fixation is better when you do it early on, your balancing is much better, and you're able to slide it down provided you plan your thickness, plan it so that you can get the fixation at the optimum level, and you will have to use augments distally, especially on the posterior and the lateral side, so that you can make up and get the sequence right. So full extension is IT band, PCL, posterior capsule, persistent tightness, graded release of the structures laterally, and then use constraint, and if it's a fixed valgus, you need to do a lateral epicondylar osteotomy. All this is bearing in mind that the medial structures are stretched out. So you will require some amount of plication or imbrication on the medial side. A rough guide to that is looking at your pre-op X-ray. If the gap or opening out in the medial compartment is roughly about 20 millimeters, you know that that will be a definite medial incompetence. You have to plan in advance for an MCL advancement or an imbrication in addition to your lateral release procedure. Another crucial step that we have to pay attention to is the femoral sizing. You have to avoid internal rotation of the component and get the size right. More often than not, the lateral condyle is hypoplastic and deformed, and so there is a tendency to internally rotate the component, and that should be avoided by repeated checks and keeping on checking and checking the gaps as well before making the final cuts for the femoral size. And that will establish your alignment, as Dhanshekar also nicely said, with the epicondylar axis, and also to establish your correct size. Now, just going through a clinical evaluation and the clinical points that you need to pay attention to. A typical valgus that presents like this, which means the deformity disappears on flexion. That clearly establishes that the deformity is in the femoral side. You are almost certain that this individual will have to be tackled entirely with a deformity correction or a handling of soft tissues on the lateral side of the femur. And X-rays will also show you that the valgus is significant. You have to do the skyline views to be aware of the patellar tracking, but usually that is solved by your lateral releases as well. For those of us, in fact, we always do a medial parapatellar approach. Unless you're familiar with the lateral parapatellar, which you're using from time to time, don't be a first-time lateral parapatellar for a valgus approach. Because I think if you're familiar with the medial parapatellar, you're able to perform all your releases, all your balancing through the medial parapatellar itself. And then balance your knee so that you're getting a good flexion or a good balancing of the knee at the end of the procedure. Remember, your constraint will be dictated by the level of release that you do at the time of the procedure. If your PCL is released and your lateral structures are significantly released, you will have to use an LCCK type of constraint in order to get that particular correction. So just to go through a couple of more examples, this is a 48-year-old male who had an injury 20 years back. He had deformity and pain with crepitus. This was a valgus knee, in addition to the fact that he had an old trauma. And this was almost like an ununited lateral condyle fracture. This is almost like a lateral condylar osteotomy that was done. So the release had to be planned because this, if you look at the CT scan, there was a huge fragment that was present laterally in order to be handled, and so that, which obviously cannot be sacrificed. And this, taken into consideration, was done for factoring this into consideration was done in handling the correction. So it is almost like a large lateral epicondylar osteotomy that had to be tackled with, and this was done by fixing that fragment initially and then getting the correction. Yes, the critique was we should have used, probably could have used stems, but the stability was good and we got a nice fixation, added a couple of screws at the end of the procedure, and thereby got this correction that was done at the end of the procedure by establishing the gap and the location. And then you have these type of deformities that present you with a windswept deformity. And they have the issues wherein they have, in clinical examination, if you look at it, they have laxity. And that is where you have to keep the constraint in mind, because even at the end of your release, there is a picture of instability both on the medial side or laxity both on the medial and lateral. You will have to use a certain level of constraint because the X-rays may not be as indicative of the soft tissues as you assess. So that is where you have to keep that in mind and probably use a PS or a PS plus type of knee to get the correction and your deformity correction. Again, another lady with a valgus deformity, done with the soft tissue release, no additional constraint required, balance the knee to get a good range of movement. Another lady, 59-year-old, again, with the balancing, use the stem because of the deformity, got a CR knee in position, and you can get your correction done if you do it sequentially and get your position at the end of the procedure. This was another lady who had a hip correction to be done because she had a bilateral dysplasia presented to us very late, and she had a significant valgus. So we went ahead and did a bilateral shortening of the femur, got the hips back, and then we landed doing a lateral epicondylar osteotomy for the knee. Obviously staged, this was several weeks later, and this had to be done only with a lateral epicondylar osteotomy. The key in the planning the lateral epicondylar osteotomy is your thickness of bone has to be at least 7 to 8 millimeters thick. It is not possible to keep it about a centimeter thick because most of them are small femurs. And if you keep it that 7 to 8 millimeters thick, your fixation is much better. You can fix it with screws, slide it down much better, and trimming is much better. Because otherwise it tends to fragment the minute you mobilize it down. And this was what was done in this particular scenario. We used a minimally constraint and got this valgus correction that is done. So, in a nutshell, your valgus deformity is a rare phenomenon, but it has to be paid closer attention to. Release of the lateral IQ band has to be complete. And when it's associated with a fixed flexion deformity, we have to think in terms of the next step, which is an osteotomy. Ligament balancing has to be sequential. The IT band is the deforming structure in most cases, and a graded release is required, and a lateral epicondylar osteotomy is rarely indicated in those severe deformities. And remember, when you use a constraint, don't directly go to a constraint level, because as Kelvin said, we need to use some amount of restraint with the constraint. So soft tissue balancing can be done and a good deformity correction achieved. Thank you for your attention.
Also, and when to vary your incision line, use of constants and all the details. Thank you very much. Dr. Pandey, please.
Prasad for inviting me here. It's nice to see so many young people sitting. I want to ask the audience, how many of you have done TKR themselves? Can you raise your hand? Okay. How many of you have not done a TKR? And how many of you have not even seen TKR? So all of you are at least assisted, if not done, right? So accordingly we can discuss what we need to do. Now basically when we do TKR in India, we get patients which are badly deformed, with a significant deformity. And what I always realize is that people who cannot afford the knee replacement surgery are the people who are not very, going to be in a bigger surgeon like Dr. Prasad. They will keep on waiting. And eventually they become very bad, and then they end up going to a person who is beginning, because they think going to Dr. Prasad is going to be very expensive. Let me go to this guy who is little less junior, may not charge me much. So people who start usually end up getting worse cases. People who have established practice usually get an easier patient. And that was my experience when I started maybe 20 years ago in a practice. And that is the reason, don't expect that you will get simple cases in the beginning. You may end up getting difficult cases. And in knee replacement, difficulty is when you get a defect in a bone which you have to tackle. And these defects in the bone, there are ways and there are principles how to tackle. We must try to get the bone back if possible. And if the bone is not possible to be brought back, then we have to replace the bone either by a metal or a cement or some other solution. So we'll just see in the next 10 minutes how do we tackle the defect in the bone. So you can get various levels of defect. It can be mild defect, moderate, intermediate, big. But most of the defects are in a certain area, usually on the medial side, because you see about 90% of the varus cases, only 1 out of 10 would be a valgus case. This could be either on a osteo-medial side, it could be either this area. Usually the defect could be anterior in the case of early deformity. As the deformity gets more deformed, the PCL get damaged, ACL get damaged, defect shifts more and more posteriorly. What is very important to realize is in the tibia, if you see, is the attachment of the hamstrings. And when the defects start happening, the bone is lost in that area. And in a severely deformed patient who is 30 degree deformed, the attachment of your hamstring is very close to the level of defect. That is exactly where your osteophyte is developing. And you may have sometimes a small loose piece of osteophyte hanging around there. And in our enthusiasm to release the defect and remove the osteophyte, the commonest error which happens is to detach that attachment of hamstring. And when you are seeing doing this knee surgery, you are exposing the tibia, you remove the osteophyte in the beginning, and this has been described in the morning. Then suddenly you find the tibia rotates and dislocate forward. And that is the thing which you have to be scared of, because that means you probably have damaged that long head of that hamstring. And if that happens, the knees suddenly become very unstable. So you have to be very careful when you do release of these significantly varus deformity, is to be careful about that hamstring, and you can easily feel the hamstring when you are trying to dislocate the knee or tibia in the front. Now the defect can be of basically 3 types. It could be a content defect where the periphery of the bone is intact and the defect is in the center. It could be peripheral defect where defect is extremely, there is no boundary for the defect. And it could be a composite, it is a combination of both of them. And more often in a deformity beyond 25-30 degrees, we get this composite defect. Again, depending on the extent of a defect, you can classify less than 5 mm, between 5 to 20, more than 20, and 30 onward is almost the total condyle is gone. So depending on exactly how much amount of bone is lost, the quantum of bone is lost, we have to decide exactly what we want to do. If it is a small amount of defect, we can just fill up with a cement, or we can just cut it through and forget about it. If it is more than 5 mm, it is preferable, according to me, to build the bone by using graft. And we are very liberal in using the graft and try to build the bone, because most of our patients are young. People who come to you are normally 40s, late 40s, early 50s ladies. And these are the people who have got significant deformity, and they are going to be alive for the next 35 years. So don't get surprised if your own patient 10 years down the line comes for revision to you. And then the person who was 45 at the time of surgery is 55 or 60, still quite young. So try to build the bone if possible, so your revision, the next surgery, becomes easy for you. As I said, there are 5 different ways of filling the defect. One is you can take extra tibial cut. It's called cutting out the defect or removing the defect by extra cut. You can undersize the tibial component. You can do of filling it with the cement. You can use autograft because we have enough graft from the bone of the femur. You can fill it up, and then you can use metal wedges, augments, or sleeves or cones as they are there today. So this is a case where you can have a small defect, not very big, and you can cut through the defect. You can cut at the level of the defect. You can see the bone quality was very good, and we had used simple all poly implant. Because the bone was good, we could cut through the defect. If the bone is osteoporotic, don't use this for a patient with RA patient. Don't use for the patient elderly osteoporotic lady, because you try to cut through the defect, cut that extra 3, 4, 5 mm, and you are left with a very soft bone. In this patient, because the quality of bone was good, we could even cut extra and replace that with the all poly implant, and we could get away with all these things. Now, this is where we undersize. So what we do is, we cut as much as we need, that is about 3, 4, 5 mm from the normal condyle. We don't cut at the level of defect, because that means losing a lot of bone. And once we cut at that level, we put an implant which is a little smaller than what the size would dictate. And then we remove this medial bone from there. So automatically we are doing 2 things. We are not only trying to get a good contact for the implant by downsizing it, and we are removing that extra bone which allows the medial tissues to become loose and automatically help to correct the varus deformity. So this is called undersizing. Undersizing is we deliberately use a smaller implant and allow an extra bone is cut so that it can get the proper medial smooth tibia, and this will help us. Again, now what are the problems in this? If you want to do undersizing, you must have a system which will allow you to match a bigger femur to a smaller tibia. So that system, you must know the system details. Some of the systems like Attune allow you to match 2 sizes up and 2 sizes down. While some systems in the past would not allow you to match a bigger femur to smaller tibia. Some of the Indian systems like INOR wouldn't do that. And then you cannot use that technique if your system doesn't allow what is called as implant mismatch in a size between femur and tibia. So make sure when you want to do this, you must have system which allow you to match a bigger femur on a smaller tibia, because you are downsizing the tibial size. Now, defect which is less than 5 mm, just 2 or 3 mm defect, once you have cut the adequate tibia, can be easily filled up with the help of cementing. You can put extra cement and you can build that cement area. Now, many times people use a screw also and then put cement, thinking it is put something like a reinforced concrete as they do in a building. I personally do not like that idea, because if you are going to use a screw, that means you are using that cement filling up in a defect which is more than 5 or 6 mm. Because the head of a screw, the diameter of the head of most of the screw is at least 4-5 mm. And the screw, when you use the screw cement technique, should not ideally touch the metal of your tibial plate. That means you have to keep at least a millimeter or 2 above or more cement above that screw. and the screw is suppose 5 mm, the head of the screw is 5 to 6 mm, means you are using this technique to fill the defect which is almost 8 to 10 mm, which is a large defect. According to me, you should not fill the 10 mm defect with the help of cement. Try to the bone from your say femoral side and then build that augment. So I very rarely use cement and screw technique. Although it has been described, people are using it, but I think that is not a very good idea to do it. In those situations, if you feel like putting a screw and a cement because it's a big gap, better use a bone. So cementing can be done to fill the defect up to 5 mm. Now you can use a bone graft when the defect is bigger or a larger area of the tibia is controlled. So it is like this. Now this is a contained defect. You can see that the defect has got a peripheral boundary which is at the level of the cut, and then the defect is in a center, and it is much easy to moisturize the bone which is removed and fill that bone, impact it, and then cover it up properly. So these defects can be filled up very easily with the moisturized graft from the cuts which you get from the tibia or from the femur. And the best bone which you can get is usually from the box cut if you are going to use the posterior stabilized knee. And it is logical that if you have a big defect, means you have got a big deformity, means you need more release, means most likely you are going to use a posterior stabilized knee. So you have got a nice box from which you can procure the bone. So we use that box very often and use it and fill it up like a bone graft here. So another example, you can have a central defect with the peripheral containment filled with the graft impacted, and you can get a nice good cement. And you don't need to have a long stay in these situations because inherently the tibial base is very stable. It has got all around the peripheral cover. Now if you have got a peripheral defect which is sloped like this is called uncontained defect because there is no peripheral boundary into which the bone can remain. So there we can make a graft of a bone from the either cut femoral condyle or a box and fix that with the help of either a screw or a wire so that we can have something like this. You can see that the graft is fitted. So the depth is cleaned up from the cartilage, it is made raw by using a burr or something, and then you can put a graft and you can put a screw. And you can see that if you put it quite well, you can get a very nice good horizontal surface. Now, this is very important to realize that when you use a stem, now you have a defect which goes through the base of your tibial plate. Now you see most of the tibial plate, base plate have got a fin like a triangle or a V-shaped thing. If the defect is encroaching on that area, that means your base plate stem is not in a good quality bone. That means you have to have something which goes still deeper. So normally you need to use a long stem if the defect is covering the stem and the V-shaped thing at the base of the tibial base plate. This is a very peripheral defect, and in such situation you can get away with just using the standard implant and you may not need to use a long stem. So the defect is filled up, you can see that, and you can get a nice good screw fixation and you can get a good healing. And usually, because the graft is not under direct load, they heal very well and you have augmented the bone. So in future, if it requires revision, you are in a better position than what you are today when you are doing the primary surgery. Another defect, you can see that the valgus is significant valgus defect. We are not cut at the level of defect, we are cut above the defect. You can see the slice of a bone which is cut. You can see the big defect there. And that defect now is a peripheral one, but good amount of depth. So the peripheral defect can make it as a contained defect by deepening it and with a block of a bone. Usually you can get it from the same side condyle of the femur. So you can get it like this. This is the femoral condyle, valgus knee again, and usually if you can see the femoral condyle is sitting quite well into the defect which is there. And when you get a femoral condyle cut, usually the same bone can fit into the defect and it is relatively simple to use the same bone rather than trying to hunt for a source of bone somewhere else. And these are the composite defects which can fill up with a graft, and if it is, as I said, a small defect, you don't need a long stem. Another defect, example of a defect, we have put a graft there and we have put one or two screws to fix the graft. Again, the important point is these screws should not touch the base plate. It is very important that the base plate is usually titanium, cobalt chrome, and screws are usually stainless steel. If you get them in contact with each other, they will cause a significant amount of metal corrosion. You have to be very careful when you use these screws. They should not be touching your base plate. Now, bigger defect, you have to go for a wedge, augments various things. Depending on amount of defect, you can have either triangular wedge, you can have box cut wedge, and whenever you use a wedge, it is important you must use a stem along with that, because the wedge means a big defect. Big defect means the base plate support is not very good. You need to have more anchorage, and you must use a stem along with that. You should not ideally use a wedge without a stem. Remember that. Now, as I said, we can have something called as sleeves today in debut. Now, sleeves are these are like a conical thing, and if you have got a very large defect in a bone, especially these are required more for revision cases, then you can use that cone-shaped thing into a metaphoric and fill the bone. So basically, when you are treating significantly deformed patient, deformed, you must plan your case well, pay attention to the details of the X-ray, anticipate the problem in your surgery before you begin, and you keep appropriate implant ready. And remember that the first thing, the first surgery is always the best time to do the surgery. If you miss that, in joint replacement surgery, as Dr. Prasad Mosra told you, you get only one chance to do it right. The next chance is not going to be as good. Thank you.
Dr. Omen, Dr. Raja. First question from the audience. Well, before the question is coming from the audience, Dr. Raja, yes, for correction of the varus deformity, you have opened the knee joint, and now you have given a median parapatellar incision. So, what you do to the patella, you will like to turn it around, or how you behave with the patella?
Generally, I tend to subluxe the patella and go ahead with the procedure, but most of the time I end up reverting the patella. I don't think it makes much difference whether you sublux or revert, and I generally resurface the patella mostly, so I need to revert it. Almost 90% of the cases I end up resurfacing the patella. So I generally revert the patella, as not sublux. The knee is tight, we start with subluxation. Once you do the release, medial release, and then sublux the tibia, we can always revert the patella. To be sure, make sure that you do a gentle medial release, accelerate the tibia so that you don't avulse the patella and then try to revert the patella. That's very important. Always keep the leg external rotated so the patella tendon is relaxed and doesn't get avulsed.
Dr. Bhende, would you like to do patella subluxation, rotate it, or?
There was a paper mentioning that if you reflect the patella out and keep it like that during the entire surgery of maybe 30, 35, 40 minutes, then there is some amount of quadriceps weakness which happens after the surgery. There is no substantiation by other papers like this, and they have recommended you slide the patella on the side instead of reflecting it out. So I slide it out, whether it is true or good or beneficial, I don't know. I always replace the patella bone because I believe that patella should not be left unreplaced, and there are recent articles just published about 2019 saying that they try to analyze the patella which were replaced always and selectively replaced. The risk of revision or problem is much more if you selectively replace, meaning you are some of the patella you left unreplaced. So in principle I replace all the patella, and to slide the patella it is easy if you remove all the osteophyte around the patella and debulk the patella. So if the patella is say 24 mm thick, I know that I have to cut maybe 8, 9 mm depending on thickness of the patella button. But I don't cut all, I cut about 1/3, 3-4 mm, so patella becomes thin and I can slide it out, we don't reflect it. But as I said, as Dr. Raja has mentioned, there is no proof about this. Although I do it that way, I never reflect it.
Right. Yes.
You mentioned about that most of the TBA have a titanium base plate. Now the DPU has a cobalt chrome base plate also. So what difference, or what advantage does a titanium and a cobalt chrome base plate have in relation to each other?
If you ask me, I don't think invention was, your screws are normally stainless steel screws. And if you want me to use the screw to fill the defect, either screw cement technique, which I don't like, or bone graft fitted in the screw, then the screw should be below the base plate by at least 1 or 2 mm. There should be either a bone or a cement in between. That was the whole reason for saying, but as I said, cobalt chrome or titanium would not make any difference as far as your base plate is polished very well and your locking mechanism is very good. So you can get even polished titanium plate today which are working very well. So I don't have any choice there.
Dr. Arora sir, any difference?
Yeah, the company claims that highly polished cobalt chrome coupled with I2 locking mechanism, there is very less backside wear. That's what they promote.
Any chances of more losing with the cobalt chrome plate compared to titanium?
More loosening? No, I don't think so. Will not that they call it cementing technique and all sort of things. In balancing etc., but not the material itself. The concern is where between body and the surface. They will be highly polished.
Okay, thank you sir. Can I make one comment about the patellar subluxation versus the patellar eversion? There is a recent study by Derek Jenkins at Lennox where they have compared a double-blind study comparing patellar subluxation with eversion and they have found no difference.
No, I think the simple thing is when you start your procedure, when you're doing a medial cut, there are certain extremely obese which are basically ties with the light circumference, which are unable to actually invert the patella. So when you do that, you remove the lateral facet first, do a little bit of clearance of the osteophytes. If you're able to invert it without much of a problem, it's fine. Some of them sublux more comfortably, that's also good. So actually you have to judge it by every case. If most cases you are able to invert the patella, but certain cases you are not able to do so, I don't think you should fight against it and try to invert it. Let it sublux as long as you've got a good exposure of the distal femur and the proximal tibia. Another point about the COCR versus titanium, I think the COCR trays are the ones that are normally supplied, which are the slightly more expensive ones. The titanium ones, I think what the few people do or even other companies do is they give it for the scheme patients or they give it for the other patients.
Cobalt chrome is the cheaper one.
Cobalt chrome is cheaper.
Now titanium is there, higher place in NPT.
Yeah.
Cobalt chrome initially it was other.
Initially it was other.
They reduced it. One word about cobalt chrome trace. There is an article in JBJS about what's new knee arthroplasty. They say the thick cobalt chrome plates they have more stress shielding the proximal tibia. You need to look at these thick cobalt chrome trace performance in the future. Titanium causes less stress shielding. Cobalt chrome causes more stress shielding. But you have this newer thicker titanium plates. You need to be cautious.
Sir, my question to Dr. Rubin sir. How will you assess femoral component rotation in case of valgus knee intraoperative?
Yeah, that's a very good question. I think from the beginning itself, mark your white sides line and your transepicondylar axis. And once you do most of the sizing jigs, when you do your femoral rotation or when you do your femoral sizing, you have to make sure that your transepicondylar axis is your landmark. Because after you establish your size, before you cut or before you even place the cutting block, with your pins in position, take out the sizing jig and check if your rotation is right. That can be done by 2-3 steps. One, with your sizing block in place, without performing the cuts, go through your angel wing and see how much of the section you're doing both on the anterior and the posterior. Next step, put your spacer block. In instrumentations like Attune, you can put the saw capture after you put your spacer block. So that is very good. Or if you don't have, if you're using a system without the spacer block or without the saw capture coming on after, you put an angel wing into the resection area and then put a spacer block and you can judge based on your tibial cut how much you are cutting. So if you're grossly internally rotated, your medial will be tight and your lateral will be open. So then is the time you go back, check. This is all done before you make your cut, not after. So that femoral sizing, there is no harm in spending 2-3 extra minutes taking out your sizing block. Number one, determining what is the correct size. Number two is establishing your rotation. That is only done with your angel wing. It's all a combination of factors. So I think right at the outset, mark your transepicondylar axis, white sides line, and keep checking at every stage. And I think it's advisable to do so before you make the cut. Because once you make the cut, then I think it's too late.
What you need to realize is the rotation of the femoral component is not very fixed. if you see the rotation angle of the femoral component in say whole population, the average will be at 3, 4, 5, 6 degree rotation. That is external rotation when the femur rotates outside, which increases the medial gap and reduces the lateral gap. Now this works very well in a varus knee because we want to have medial gap bigger because varus knee medial side is tighter. Valgus knee, the opposite is required, and that's where the issue comes. Also, valgus knee, the lateral condyle is affected. What is very important to realize is that though we say 3 degree, 4 degree, 5 degree is good, if you see the population range, the rotation could be as much as minus 3 degree, that is introtated, to plus 17 degree. What is very important at the end of the day is not whether you have got that exact figure right, whether it is 3 degree, 7 degree or 9 degree. What is important is the rotation should help you to balance your knee inflection. So knee balancing is more important. You may have to rotate little extra externally or little less externally. It doesn't matter as well as you have got a good balance. So don't worry about amount of rotation. You can rotate little extra plus minus, but make sure your flexion balance gap is there because rotation has got more relevance in the flexion balancing than the rotation angle itself. You follow me?
So that's an advantage of doing the tibial cut first. You do a gap balance in extension, go to the flexion, you have that cutting block in situ, spacer block in flexion, check. I think the Parish will use a run-over block, measure both sides and rotate. I use that fixed block and do the flexion gap assessment, varus valgus. If it is tight on one side, we rotate. That's how we do it.
And that's the parallel tibial cut. That's very important. Besides the cutting.
Your question, my question to Peter sir is, also that under sizing thing, what about the revision? Won't there be less of bone available in revision? And why not we augment that medial part while we are removing that medial part in that under sizing?
No, as I said, you can always fill the defect and get the level by using either a graft or a wedge or a step cut augment or a cone. You can always build the bone. It is not wrong, but that requires a little more difficult technique. You need to have wedges, augment. If you use a wedge, you need to have a long stem. So it is an expensive affair for the patient. All of us do not have the luxury, at least I don't have that luxury in Bombay. For every defect or every severe varus, I keep on using wedges and augment. It is much easier, less expensive, and it works well in your favor because now, because you remove that extra bone bump, you automatically soft tissue release happens. The job makes easy. In knee replacement, remember one thing, don't try to go do complex thing first. Do something simple which give you good predictable result. You can always use augment, wages, etc. But you are increasing the complexity, chances of thing going wrong is much higher. But you can use it, there is no harm in it.
And if you are using a smaller size, you are getting more coverage. You have support, more than 70% or so. You don't want less support. Then you will be forced to use 10.
But some behind.
So what should be the reason of increased it happened and we checked that tibia was not in the valgus cut, femur was not in the internal rotation, there was exact grand piano sign, there was no extra release of the capsule on the posterior side and there was no injury to the popliteus. But still it happened. Is it related to the patients who are having habit of sitting in cross-legged position and can it be related to that? And if it is increased, then how it should be done?
No, in a varus knee, it depends on where you started with. The lateral ligament would have been lax preoperatively, as you said, patient that means squatting, sitting, cross-leg. Lateral structures are lax. Once you remove the PCL, only medial and lateral constraint is the lateral, collateral and the MCL. Once you keep releasing the MCL, lateral side also stretches out. And there is increased laxity as we keep doing and the component insert size goes up. So at one state probably you are this balancing on the lateral side. So there is some lateral need to further release and balance.
No, I would like to add, in a natural knee, examine the next 100 knee with this point in your mind, in your OPD. The lateral side is always little lax than the medial side. All patients, even normal one. Dr. Prasad can vouch for that. When you clinically examine lateral is slightly loose than medial. In people, especially in Indian people, we are sitting cross-legged, it may get stretched to some extent. So more often than not, you always have lateral side little bigger or wider. And that difference is not identical in extension and flexion. We use navigation in our hospital, using it for the last 10-12 years. And we many times find that the gap which is in the lateral area, after taking the primary bone cut, which are perfect mechanical access cut, extension the difference may be 5 mm, flexion it may be 8 or 10 mm. So lateral laxity is not identical in extension and flexion, and you can very easily demonstrate that if you are using navigation. If there is a differential laxity in the lateral part in a varus knee, then you have to accordingly match it differentially. Now, realize one thing: what is something which will allow you to change the lateral gap only in flexion but not in extension? What is it? In the technique of surgery, what is the step which will allow you to reduce the lateral gap only in flexion and not in extension? And that is your rotation of the femur, right? If you rotate the femur externally, internally, in extension, the gaps won't change at all. But in flexion, as you rotate externally, the lateral gaps come down, medial gap opens up. But again, as I said, you are not talking about knee in a very artificial way of straight position, 0 degree and 90 degree. Patient obviously going to go from 0 to 90 in a range. So when you are rotating it, in between the two, if you are trying to get this balancing by just rotation, in between the two, there would be area where it would be more than what you want. You are getting my point?
Yes.
Those are the cases when you have got a significant unequal lateral gap and you are trying to balance by too much of a rotation, you may get a situation between 0 degree and 90 where the gap is not balanced very well.
So is there...
And then it can lead to something called as mid-flexion self-here.
So if rotation is already, this cut is taken, that, and medial release you have already reached the maximum limit, then can tightening or lateral LCL or this popliteus, can that help in that situation? If MCL is already released and we are not able to balance by releasing more anterior-medial.
Popliteus tendon cannot be tightened because it keep on stretching. You may at the most use the lateral collateral attachment on the femoral condyle osteotomy and then bring it proximal. The way you can slide it forward in a tight valgus, you can bring it upward also. Theoretically it is right, although I have never done it myself.
Is it going to affect the outcome if it is left unsolved?
I think the best option then when you landed up with a large flexion gap is to use, that's why most of these knees have a significant flexion deformity or even some flexion deformity to start with. So that is where you will have to use the next size. If you are using an anti-referencing system, you have to upsize your femur. That will close down your flexion gap. Remember, it is only in an anti-reference. There is no point in going up size in a posterior referencing. So as a rule for a flexion deformity with a varus or with a flexion deformity, preferable to use an anterior referencing system. Because most often than not, when you're trying to adjust the flexion deformity and the varus, you're concentrating so much on establishing the extension gap, and then when you get down to flexion, you'll find, if you're not careful, you'll land up with a large flexion gap. And that is where you have to err on the size of using a larger component. And then if you want downsize, that is easier.
We are running behind. The question is not larger component. He is talking about lateral opening. In that situation, you need to accelerate the femur and add a posterior opening on the lateral side. I have done this.
And I hope you are not talking of gross difference between the two.
It is only 2 to 3 millimeters.
2 to 3 millimeters does not matter much.
Yes. Our papers are saying that we can leave it and time it is going to settle.
2 millimeters doesn't matter much. Don't worry about that part.
Last
short question to instability. Would you prefer the medial fine cresting or too much release of the tissue to prevent this medial mid-flexion instability?
Combine all these methods to avoid excessive medial release. So we start with the release 4 to 5 centimeters from the joint and feel superficial collateral ligament. 99% we are able to manage this. So we need to assess the deformity is intra-articular or extra-articular. If there is extra-articular deformity, probably we will show something like a medial from osteotomy. Or to compensate the extra-articular deformity, it won't be possible if by
release of the class, we will conduct over release. So during intratic deformity, I will start with the release. The superficial MCL, 3 to 5 centimeter from the joint line, stop BSS. If you are going to require more release, I will switch over to medial microscope with the knee.
Thank you very much. We have to wind up, but I am very happy that this session had so many questions from the audience. That means you were so attentive. Thank you, faculty.
Osteoarthritis or peripheral cartilage pain, you can do a resurfacing again, and around 4% of them will improve only. So the battle is still cast, whether you do patella, you don't do patella, I don't know. However, the eversion is there, as aptly said by Dr. Amrit. Meta-analysis has shown that it doesn't affect the circulation or the nerve supply to the patella. However, if you must know you can do both, and both facilitate surgery equally well. So you can subluxate it, but still you will have to do eversion, either whether you do arthroplasty or you do a patellar resurfacing, but that can be done in extension. Because the strain to the quadriceps comes only when you have pressed the knee by everting the patella. So just you can always make a judgment. In a very obese patient, it's always good to just simply subluxate the patella and work most of the time. And when you are using the arthroplasty, then you can evert it and do it. So always a mix and match. And it doesn't give you any constraint of space. So that's number one. And as far as the gap creation is there, I believe that if you do everything stepwise, don't try to do any correction till you have done the whole cut. Most important, when you are going to do flexion or the posterior condylar cut of the femur, ensure that the bone stringing of the medial collateral is absolutely gone. That means the medial osteophytes of the femur and tibia both must have been taken out. Then you can lift it up and see that your cut to the posterior condyle is going to be the parallel to the tibial cut on epicondylar. It's very difficult to palpate the apex of both the epicondylar. It's almost, you can palpate and make a line, but it can be very difficult. 2 to 3 degrees variation is there. And very aptly said by Dr. Mendeyev, the rotation will vary from person to person. So don't be fixed on 3 degrees. Your idea is to get a very good rectangular flexion gap. So once you have cut the tibia, you can, before cutting the femur, ensure that the gap you are going to create is stable in flexion. And that's the most important thing, not the degree. And again, even valgus knee, like Dr. Mohan said, you will have to do same amount of rotation. It's not the varus or valgus. Everything changes when you are flexing the knee. So these are the couple of things I wanted to clarify. And then the simple questions we are going to ask. Very simple. Exposure. Anterior exposure is standard. Anyone, a Henry's approach, mid-vastus or sub-vastus. Dr. Mendeyev, what you take? What you do?
A lot of importance is given, according to me, without reason. Practice as a sub-vastus approach, practice, etc. It's like marketing your house. I have got a door which is open twice, or I have a door which is open one way or left way. I don't think it is very important to have various approaches. You can learn them if you want, but I always go by midline anteromedial approach by taking the patella laterally, and I have been able to do it almost 99% of cases with that. So I have never, I have tried it a couple of times, few times, but I don't think subvastus, midvastus, all those approaches are required to get a good outcome from the knee replacement surgery. Approach is a very tiny part of the overall thing which you need to do.
But you do rectus cutting approach?
Paramedial rectus cutting approach. Keep a small 1 millimeter rectus on the muscle side. You can suture it back. You don't need to get a very big approach. And whether the knee is varus or valgus, I always go by the same approach. Patient can still have very good function. Although theoretically they say subvastus will give better function, but that's a question of first 2, 3, 4 days. Beyond that, it doesn't matter.
Okay. Dr. Arthroplasty.
Yeah, I like Dr. Bhinde. I use the same approach, but I do one thing. We make a mark on the suprapatellar region so that we can reach it back to the same area and pass the knife to the rectus and leave a part of the place.
How it helps? How it helps?
The mark? Yeah, I think we are stitching the flap on the same area where we cut. So it is a better positioning of the.
Kannan, your take. What's your approach, favorite approach, and why?
My favorite approach is the fastest approach, and I don't want to market myself. I work for the government, so it's not a marketing.
No, that's not the issue. You
just kidding.
The idea is to, yes, you use subclasses, and what is your reason? Not marketing, yes, I got it. But what else?
Okay, it's just that, in my personal experience and the significant amount of literature on that, the early recovery from subclasses approach is much better for the first 6 months. By 1 year, the results of both are equal, middle parapatellar as well as the subclasses approach. But I find the recovery, the patient has lesser pain in my hands. I do both. In case patient comes to Patna Baha or with a stiff knee, I have to do a subclasses for that. The relative contraindication.
So subclasses, you will have some limitation that will be selecting your cases.
You can't be 100% subclasses surgeon. That's being, I think, stretching the thing a bit too far. There are contraindications for that, and we need to respect that. We need to be firstly aware of them.
Okay. Dr. Arora.
You want to add something?
No, I will add.
No, so...
Here I have the boss.
Okay. So, I think, let me tell my younger friends, medial parapatellar is still considered gold standard. If you go by literature, any other approach is yet to match this. On the other hand, there are more complications they put it with the so-called very invasive kind of thing. So, I still do almost all my medial parapatellar. Extremely rarely lateral parapatellar in a case of which had permanent dissolution of patella was doing it, but standard medial parapatellar approach in almost all cases. And message to my friends, unless you have done at least 100 knees by standard approach, do not think of any submasters or mid-masters or those kind of approach.
All are rectus scanning.
All are rectus scanning. Leaving a cuff of 2 to 3 millimeter on the medial side, rectus scanner. Again marking suprapatellar as well as infrapatellar by marking pen, but I do not create patella baha for twist.
Just one, sorry. Just one thing I want to add. Remember one thing, when you are beginning your practice, go by anteromedial approach, standard approach, because it is extensile. You go for subclasses approach, it is not an extendable approach. You cannot extend it proximally beyond the limit because there is a vessel there. So don't go by this. You have done 100, 200 knees, now you have to explore an additional thing. Fine, you can use subclasses because once you start subclasses, then extending it proximally becomes extremely difficult. In case on table, you have some problem.
Fully agree with that. My first 200 knees were all medial parapatellar.
No.
Sir, I always use medial parapatellar approach because many studies have shown the firing of vastus medialis. If you are disturbing vastus medialis, firing of vastus medialis is very important.
Yeah.
So I don't.
That goes proximal, more proximal. Yes. So you do rectus cutting. Dr. K. Tripathi from Allahabad.
Good morning, sir. I think I started my career with the mid and parapatellar, but in between when the MIS came in the scene, I tried to deviate from the subwaters, mid-wasters and a lot of other approaches. But I think in two of the cases, I got when I was evolving patella, I got the erosion of arthroplasty. I think then again I came back to my older approach, that is the mid-least.
Rectus cutting. You do rectus?
Yeah, all the cases.
Any tip about the closer? How you would like to close? Any specific tip for the closer? Like 2% size they mark so that the tension is same, there is no overlapping of
I take the continuous suture and there is no problem.
simple interrupted suture or continuous?
No, I take the continuous suture.
Continuous suture in one layer?
One layer.
What? Dr. Anand, your?
Sir, I take
interrupted. 1 layer, 2 layer?
1 layer.
1 layer. Is it very tight, loose, or with the gaps, or it is absolutely watertight closer?
It's a watertight.
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 Dr. Anil?
Saying interrupted closure, I don't know continuous closure, but one message to our friends, be careful in infrapatellar area. Close when you are closing inflection, do feel you don't use any gap, there is no soft tissue inside, directly people place plate is exposed. So one has to be very, very careful, especially in infrapatellar area after they are closing anatomy, and I always make it watertight, always.
Just
repeating the same thing, watertight single layer.
Any change?
Little bit different. I use 3 or 4 bond switches. Superior in the infrapatellar, suprapatellar, because it is a tight, especially the patient was very osteoporotic and very weak muscle. Because the bond is a strong structure. Then I use Stratifix to complete the sutures. Stratifix, the advantage is that you need not put any knot, keep on stretching, keep on close, and will not get loose. That's the way.
It has to be watertight, number one. I use interrupted stitches from top to bottom, and then one more layer of continuous stitch. We use 1 number Y3. As far as it is watertight, doesn't matter what material you use and whether it is interrupted or continuous.
Yeah, Dr. P.G. Chatterjee. Again, I think we all are friends here, so and the discussion can be informal. So anyone wants to put up with diverse or any contrary view is most welcome.
Thank you. I fully endorse Dr. Harish's point of view. See, the problem with the continuous suture is, if you put the suture in extension, you cannot flex the knee. If you put the suture in flexion, when you extend it, you will find that it becomes loose in between the sutures. So that's why it is good to put continuous interrupted sutures. The interrupted sutures, because you are not connecting the sutures, the tissue in between subsequent sutures can stretch. So it is good to put interrupted sutures in extension and then flex it and then put the continuous sutures. So you have taken care of tightness in flexion as well as extension.
What I do, I put the
whether you close it flexion or extension, it doesn't make much difference. No,
continuous. But I think in the 7 minutes, any problem in any patient.
You see, let's go to the concept. I think most of the surgeons you heard are using medial parapatellar approach. That's number one. Rectus cutting, most of them are using, but Dr. KANPUR is using subvascular. But again, there's a limitation. So you see, you can make a simple thing difficult, and you can enjoy it. This is how our mentality is. We like to do some challenges, so that's one. But end result, after 1 year, as said by them, all the incisions, all the 3, subvascular, midvascular, rectus cutting, all work absolutely same. However, there are some reports which show that the subvascular can be more comfortable to the patient post-op period only. The midvascular, I do midvascular, and I do it because I enjoy it, I think I am capable, but there are times. But rectus cutting approach is the golden standard. You will not be stuck anywhere. You can easily extend it proximally. In a midvascular, we are stuck. If we try to extend it proximally, the muscle is gone, denervated, the vessel is there. So rectus cutting is a gold standard. The results will be same. The 3 or 4 weeks results are not so important. And anyway, all our knee replacement patients do walk next day. The another point is closer. It should be watertight closer because the tissue should not leak out. And the important thing is what Dr. Anil Arora said. The problem of sticking the distal part, near the tibial tuberosity, will be very crucial. How to make that watertight. So remember, when you are cutting it also, take care of keeping the tissue very well there, so that you must know that you are going to stitch it back. So don't take it lightly, and friend, that's a very good advice, because Dr. Anil Arora hit the nail exactly there. We remove it, open the tissue when it comes to closer, you think that the tissue there is viable, you have not taken it out. The soft tissue, making of a soft tissue sleeve is very, very important. I just, based on that, I'll just go for one of more questions. What is a post-op rehab? What do you do after surgery, once you have done a closure? What type of bandages you want to give? Dr. Benji, oh Dr. Kenny, you have the mic, you start with this.
I put the for the 24 hours, and then as my patient becomes painless, you start mobilizing them. Then there will few degree of friction to 20-30 degree, and then I think patient is ambulatory after 24 hours.
What is the advantage of knee brace in your, you have to do with the logic, what's the logic?
It is just because most of the patients are quite painful, so I just immobilize the muscular movement.
Dr. Anand, yours?
I don't use brace. I just use compression bandages in 2 days.
A grey bandage or a simple
bandages in 2 days.
Dr. Arora, yours?
So adhesive sealing dressing, double layer compression bandage in soft roll. As per comfort level, I allow them knee bending, but we are not very aggressive initially because after the service they want to show that they have shown good result. The very next day morning, we make them sit by edge if they want to stand perfectly alright, but we are not very aggressive. We want to mobilize all of them, motivate them. Within 24 to 48 hours, everybody is walking. So no braces unless there is something special with the knee or
and compression bandage or simple?
Compression bandage, we debulk it very next day in the morning.
Right. Colonel Kapoor?
For example, I use the aquacell dressing, which is highly absorbent. That is number one. Followed by a compression bandage over that. No knee bracing, except only the one indication of knee bracing in my practice is that when you have your closure under tension, I don't want it to break down by early mobilization for first 4 to 5 days. I give a knee brace in extension, and thereafter. And patient is ambulated first post-op morning. Unless there's a little chatty about annoying them to ambulate on the post-op evening itself. So first post-op morning they ambulated, and people who feel strong enough they will permit to go up to the toilet. But definitely ambulation around the bed on the first post-op morning itself.
Yeah, I use aquacell dressing because it's very comfortable for the patient. They can even take shower. I use brace in those patients in which they have previous traction deformity because they are tending to keep the knee traction, and compression bandage, that's all.
See, I think people, we are not clear about when to give a brace and why to give a brace after surgery. You have to realize that after the surgery, in a normal patient, when the knee is normal, patient walk by extending the knee, and there is normal 5 degree hyperextension, the knee get locked, and they are used to walk like that. In a TKR patient, very rarely a surgeon is going to keep the knee hyperextended. Most of us do not like the knee TKR left hyperextended. So that knee has to be a straight or maybe 3, 4, 5 degree flexion. Now, if your patient is walking with 3, 4 degree flexion, which you expect to get stretched out in the next maybe 2-3 months time, then the patient must have a good quadricep. You cannot walk with 5 degree flexion in the knee with a weak quadricep. You have done a surgery, you have whatever surgery you have done approach, the quadricep has inhibited for some time. And in that scenario, if you make the patient walk without a brace, some patients, some of the elderly ladies, specifically or old people, can buckle when they are walking. So number one, you must have a brace on the knee till the patient can get active quadricep extension. The day patient can do this active extension, it could be the second day after surgery, it could be 5th, it could be 10th, it could be even a month. You need to have a brace because you are not left that knee in a hyperextended position where the patient can stand, lock the knee in hyperextension, and quadricep actually is not functioning in a standing mid-stance position. A normal patient do not require quadricep to stand. Because the TKR is not kept into hyperextended, you must use the brace till the patient can extend actively like this. So we normally use brace for all the patient, and then the physiotherapists decide how long the brace need to be used, whether day 1 day 5, day 7, day 10, it's up to them. So don't go by a fixed idea that I don't want to use a brace because using a brace means I have done something wrong. No. You are using a brace because patient's knee is never kept in high press position at the end of the TK and is kept 2, 3, 4, 5 degree in a flex position. And until and unless you get a quadricep or grade 4 plus or grade 5, this patient has a risk of buckling when they try to walk.
Dr. Bhinde, you mean that if the patient can do SLR after surgery, no brace is required?
Dr. Khare, SLR is something to do with the hip movement. You may not have any SLR, but you do have quadricep.
I mean to say we can make the limb straight.
No. They have to sit on a bed or a chair and they have to extend the knee like this. Yeah. So you have to extend the knee. SLR can be done with knee flexed. So until and unless they get a full extension here, you need to use a brace on this because they are at risk of falling down.
Dr. Bhinde, in how many cases of yours you do braces?
All patients get brace on day 1.
Till extension?
Oh yeah, extension brace. They start walking the same day evening if the case is early morning, or definitely next day morning they start walking full weight bearing. The knee bending started the same day evening. We put a very light, not a very big compression bandage, a light compression bandage which is removed the next day morning. Then a small dressing comes. And the CPM etc. started aggressively from day 1, that is immediate post-day surgery only. So then the anesthetist can, the physiologist can decide exactly how much extension they have. The moment they get full extension, it can hold it for a few seconds, the brace goes off.
Dr. Prasad, can I ask the panel, what is the harm in using brace for a few minutes? What is the harm?
I think I'll put it up differently because Dr. Bhinde has explained very conceptually manner to how, why to use the brace, and Dr. Ted why to use it. I use selectively. I see the intelligence of patient, I see the quadricep mechanism, and then I also see osteoporosis, how comfortable the patient is anyway. So the idea is, friends, yes, braces are one good idea, but they only use when the patient is mobilized, not because otherwise they will not do exercise. This is what made it, I think.
No, one more reason for using brace is you have corrected a flexion deformity patient. These patients have a tendency to keep the knee in flexion because they don't have and these people get a night brace so that they don't remain in a flex position at night time.
Just wanted to add that it has to be used as a night sprint only. Because all the flexion deformities, because of the pain they are going to take it probably even worse than what they were before. And then FFT is not a good thing to have post-op at 6 weeks. We can't even manipulate it.
Right. So any questions about this? And then another question, just asking panelists who are using CPM as a routine in their patient. Dr. Bhinde, you to use?
I use CPM. There are 2 reasons for using CPM. Number 1 is sometimes the patient is afraid of bending the knee, and then they see that okay, my knee is bending easily. CPM or without CPM, overall range at the end of 6 weeks or 2 months is not going to make a big difference. More often it is a psychological reason that patient feels somebody is coming, doing something, machine, etc. and they really feel good about it. Remember one thing, in your practice, it is not what surgery you have done, it is not what implant you have used, it is not whether vastus spinalis or this approach done. End of the day, whether the patient felt good in your hands, and they felt, okay, I went to this place and they really looked after me. And many things which you do, which are not necessarily going to change the outcome in terms of range. CPM helps, we do it only in 2-3 days time. The moment they get more than 60-70 degrees, it is of no use because CPM cannot give range more than 45 to 50 degrees. You can't go to 90 beyond that. So normally, the second or third day, we stop CPM because they are already beyond that. But we always use it in most of the patients, yes.
I know that. Anyone else uses CPM?
Aren't you concerned about the wound healing? Because there's massive literature out there that says early CPM actually.
No, again, we are allowing full range movement. Many of the patients by the end of second or third day are already 80-90 degrees. Now, you have to do a very meticulous skin closure. We use not just the continuous and interarticular muscle, we also use subcuticular and we also use the staples. So with the meticulous closure, I don't think one should ooze. by this mobilizing and movement?
I think we are getting short of time. Dr. Vishal Agarwal is reminding me. I'll just ask more defects. Dr. Bhende has explained very well, and there were a lot of questions, so I will not ask anything. I just want to know your two indications for keeping constraints beforehand the surgery and using constraints during the surgery. What are the cases where you know beforehand, no, in this patient, in all probability I am going to use that constraint. Because you are using a
Technically, any deformity more than 25-30 degree, we keep TC3 as a standby, but I very rarely use it.
But keep at the standby. That's the message I want there.
Any deformity beyond 25-30 degree, you should keep it as a standby, nothing wrong in keeping it. Company will grumble. 99% case I don't use it. And they grumble that आपके लिए ये सब लाना पड़ता है सब, but they can't say no to me unfortunately.
And during surgery, what is the strong indication you think, no, I think I should use it? Though you had not planned it, but still.
If the imbalance between the medial and lateral structure is more than 2-3 millimeter, and you have done as much release or balancing as you can, and still it is imbalanced, then you may have to use it. Number two, if you are over-release something, in a varus knee, it is a very common thing to over-release, especially if you cut the posteromedial hamstring attachment, which I was showing in the, where the defect is there, and suddenly we start becoming unstable in a flexion. So those situations where you have to use a constraint knee, if there is imbalance more than 3-4 millimeter on medial and side.
Dr. Karan, yours?
Yeah. I think same like Dr. B did. We have to see what are the stability on the flexion and extension. But we should, in a very severe deformity, bone defect, I think it is better to have
bone defect alone will not be the guiding principle for constraint. Anyway, stability is the most important thing. Yeah. Any difference of opinion? Yeah.
Just want to add one more thing to what Dr. Bhende said. It's a flexion extension mismatch also.
Yeah, that becomes, and that fortunately is the most forgiving thing to happen in a knee if it is there. Dr. Arora.
Yes, I was about to add the same thing.
Yeah.
That if I'm not able to match the flexion gap despite doing everything, we put this. And I always keep in a valgus knee TC3 as a root.
Yeah.
Besides that.
I think valgus knee again is one point. A severe valgus knee, I think it's always prudent to keep the constraint available in the operation theatre. Thank you, gentlemen. There's a question, right? Yeah.
A patient came to be followed. You might follow with the fullness of the knee joint, operated 7 days back.
May mic closer to you.
Operated 7 days back with the fullness of the knee. There is no sign of the any infection, only slight warm of the knee joint. Would you like to aspirate the joint or releasing us?
Number one, fullness, which was not day 4. Usually second, third, fourth day they go home, and 5 days down, 7 days down the line they come back saying my knee has suddenly swollen up. Now, number one is you have to ask if there is a fever associated. If there is a fever, if there is significant local increase in the bone, swelling, inflammatory signs around the joint, which was more than what you remember sending the patient home with, then I am worried about infection. It could be that you have given anticoagulation and that may have got more effect on that patient than your normal patient, and you may have bled inside. The simple thing is to put a needle inside, not to aspirate that hematoma which is there, but to find the sample for culture, send it for culture, ice pack, put ice pack on the knee. If your patient is on, say, DVT prophylaxis, then stop it for some time, keep the knee in maybe a sprintage for some time. Don't be very aggressive about further mobilization. I would prefer to get the patient admitted for 2-3 days and watch exactly what happens to the patient for the next 2-3 days. By 3 days, you get the culture report back. If the cultures are negative, just put the ice pack, give anti-inflammatory, be gentle about mobilization, and patient should settle down.
I think we can stop there because, but I can just only tell one word of advice. Don't try to put your needle so early. It's 7 days. If you have noticed that swelling is coming off, still watch for a couple of days and let in 2 days nothing is going to be lost. Just watch. You have to watch it once. If it is yeah, Dr.
Great use of these sutures.
It's not question of infection, etc. The self-blocking bark suture saves the time. That is the only thing. And whatever you suture can stick to that particular.
They are very good sutures, no question of higher infection. My only concern with them is the cost. It is quite expensive.
Dr. One, you had a point I was saying.
Bark sutures actually became, even at earliest 2009, we started when I was doing one of the fellowships that I used, they stopped using it because there's a lot of irritation in the muscle and something. The retinaculum is okay, but again, it was an area of concern, so they stopped using it totally. So just be wary of the bark sutures, and especially in the subcutaneous tissue, because they can tend to persist there and cause a lot of irritation and probably 6 granuloma-like situations.
My opinion is
this has been published also. Which has been published also.
My opinion is
quill. This is the quill is the brand.
It only gives you a time.
Yeah, but even then,
so we can do it faster. Yeah. So we go in session and
There's from Ipcon, the new badge has come, which is not causing any irritation and used for the muscle, not for the circuit.
Sure, but
yeah, things will keep on evolving. So bark sutures are very good because you can do it very fast, and it's a good closer. That's all. But yes, you see, there's a lot of questions on closer also, but I think we'll get it by because we are getting more in the discussion part. But this is what we wanted. So thank you, panelists. We go for the next session. That's lovely. And there's a running tea, and you can bring your tea, cookies inside and keep on watching. I'll be showing, in fact, there's a video demonstration before talking to It's a various thing. You can see the medial compartment, there's a chip off from the medial model of TBI in both the knees. There's a lot of osteophyte at the anterior part of the femur, the patellofemoral joint, and there's a lot of osteophyte on the posterior part of the femur as well. So this is the knee which I am going to operate, and clinically I have shown you the video of the female putting a balanced knee into a normal knee with totally what I always advocate in a lady, not very old, and I have already done. So I have already done one knee where you can see instead of going down. In this also, instead of going down, I have still kept the TV up and just a small defect on the medial side. I have you use the cement and the screw. That's again just to fix the cement there and a very small defect. And the other thing I am going to do today,
the right knee. You can see the right knee extend before surgery, the right knee lateral view, with lots of ossified anteriorly and posteriorly, also on the medial side with the tip of the MTN, and then how we do it after conversion. I did not go down, some of the mold defects were filled up by the whole cement and a couple of the screws. So this is the lateral view of the same right one. Today I intend to do the left knee, which is again a grotesque looking knee. A medial shift here. So that's setting on the left side. And the lateral more than 35 degrees of balance and 30 degrees of flexion deformity.
so this is how I am going to expose. I like mid-vastus approach, and that again, that doesn't mean to say, yeah, I will do in every case, but 99% of the cases I use mid-vastus, including the valgus knee. But that's my way. But if the patient is very obese, if I am doing a revision surgery where I do not know much about the soft tissues, yes, I will do a rectus cutting approach.
And the tibial proximity. And my incident will be same, just medial to the medial tibial proxy, going up straight, and just 2 fingers proximal to the patella.
I don't do that much.
Use a mass bandage again, and emphasize again and again, so that you can see the bleeding point and coagulate there. Do not open the intake before closure, so this is the timing tool to coagulate sulfate more levels.
Okay. So I don't use as much, so I can see the bleeding point and keep on coagulating it. So that's one point. And the idea is even I can see the branch of the inferior genicular artery and the lateral meniscus when I am removing it. So real time, I'll just try to do a little fast. So there is my medial parapatellar orthotomy, going up till the superior medial portion of the patella, and then I make a small niche
and either opening and creating a soft tissue sleeve. Okay, what the question
So, and here I am trying to create a soft tissue sleeve. It can be done with a knife, it can be done with an osteotome. I use cutting the other knee, but that's not the only way. We have to simply lift it away so that we can close it well. That is the whole idea. So there should be full thickness. I don't try to see what is MCL, where the superior, where the deep MCL is there. The whole soft tissue sleeve should come at a one, which can be stitched back easily. That is the idea. And you can see the osteophyte here, the tibial one. And now I can make a nick on the proximal portion into the vastus medialis fibers. And I always have to remove the infrapatellar pad of fat, not to the full extent, a part of it, by passing a finger there and keeping a moment to protect the ligamentum patelli. That's the most sacrosanct area. If we damage it, we are gone. So remember, and then there is a control release. The adhesions of the ligamentum patelli are taken off so that I can subluxate or involve the patella. It's all real time, so you can see how we do it. And it can be done by anyone. Just have good control of your hands. And then the whole joint can be opened. Normally I clean up and see that the tissues are protected well. And you do not have to go down beyond tibial tuberosity because the neuromas are very painful. So try to restrict your incision up to that level. However, when you flex, sometimes the tension is there, then you can give a nick into the skin and this patella can be everted and the knee can be flexed. It's a 30 degree of fixed flexure deformity. But friends, I can tell you, in osteoarthritis knee, the basis is to remove all the osteophytes after identifying them well. And that's it. Everything will fall into place. The soft tissue problems is in the rheumatoid and they're different ball game altogether. But osteoarthritis, like this is what happened in midvascular. You have to split a little, but in the rectus cutting, that problem will not be there. And here we have to be very careful because the superior genicular artery is there, the nerve is there, and vastus medialis can be denervated. So once we have opened it up, the idea is to remove all the osteophytes. The first osteophyte I do remove is of patella, that doing patellar arthroplasty. So I remove all the osteophyte. I'll just do a little forward. And once I have done remove the osteophyte of patella, the next will be to expose the tibia. I am just measuring the patella, but I did not do because the patella was narrow, so I'll skip that also. I did not do patella button implantation because it was very narrow. But anyway, I did a smoothing with a rasp. And then I burned the fibrous tissue that helps. I do not know how much, but there's so many papers giving contradictory views. So I do burn because it probably makes the patient less painful. And then I'll remove the anterior cruciate ligament. That is the first step. And I'm doing cruciate substituting, so I'll remove both the anterior cruciate as well as the posterior cruciate ligament at one go. And then I'll try to get tibia subluxated anteriorly. Once the ACL is gone, then only it can be subluxated. And then they take one moment and will go just over the lateral meniscus on the lateral side. And that's how I go, just over the lateral meniscus, and then try to lift off the patella, keeping a close watch on the tension at the ligamentum patellae. Because that's a place which it can be avoided. And that's why if we wanted to subluxate, that would have been easier. The patellofemoral ligament is seen, I will have to dissect that. That makes patella more comfortable. And then I'll remove the lateral meniscus. And just I can keep a small rim of the lateral meniscus at the posterolateral portion. So that will protect the inferior genicular artery if I really want to. Otherwise, we can always see the bleeding point and we can coagulate it then and there. What will be the next step? The next step will be to take out the anterior osteophyte because I don't want to, there are so many osteophytes visible everywhere. I will go stepwise. I have to keep the jig anterior portion of the tibia. So the only osteophyte I want to remove at the moment is the anterior osteophyte. I'll remove them so that I can keep the jig well. And we all know we have to have a slope, posterior slope when we are trying to cut. And what I do, the center is kept at the junction of the middle and medial third of the tibial tuberosity, or it is just lateral to the tibial spine, a line joining anteroposterior, bang straight anteroposterior line. So this is where my center of the jig will be. So that point has to be fixed, and that's very important. So this is how now I can go back and keep it there. And the distal part, I always find a bony landmark, so I use tibial ridge always. So first I fix the lateral foot pin, and sometimes you can appreciate how much you're going to cut from the lateral side. The idea is never cut more than 10 millimeters from a healthy lateral side. If the lateral condyle cartilage is there, then your maximum limit should be 10 millimeters. We try to cut as less bone as possible to start with. If necessary, we can always cut more. We can leave the marks there of the pins, and we can always apply the jig again. And we see it, and then we go distally, fix the distal rod just over the tibial ridge. You can palpate the tibial ridge very well. I don't believe in the second toe because they always rotate. So tibial ridge is palpable even in the most obese patient, just proximal to the ankle joint. Try to rub your finger to find out the tibial ridge and then keep it there. That's my dictum of doing it. And you can see there's a lot of defect. I'm not going at the base of the defect. I'm just cutting small bone, and your all cuts are interrelated. So don't forget that. Every cut has to be perfect. Perfect in the sense what you have planned, and you must be knowing what you have done. So your cut should be good, your depth of the cut should be known. So when we take it out, we always measure it, how much we have cut. So we never know how much space we are creating. That's very important. I'll just forward it fast, just so I can. So this is the defect we can see. This is the defect, and we are also measuring it. Usually it's an 8 mode, still in fast forward mode. The medial side is always closed, so you will have to use your blade much more there so that and then you take out all the soft tissues from the lateral side also. I've just kept it in a little fast forward mode. It's a very bad knee, we all have seen X-ray, but now I will take out the medial osteophyte as well, so that the defect becomes smaller, and then we can assess what, if we want, we can do a tangential cut with a saw and take out the bone which will take out from the femur and graft it. But do we require that will come at the end. So we are trying to see how much extra bone is there and how much the defect will be there, and then I'll just remove. And with the, when I keep the plate, I take a rod and see that my rod lies on the anterior ridge by centering it at the same point and see whether the cut is, whether it's varus or valgus. So cross-checking is very, very important. Keep on cross-checking. So the causal probably in little valgus. So the medial side which is closed, there are so many times the blade will go off the closed bone. So we have to make it good. So we keep on titrating it till we get a perfect 90-degree cut of the proximal tibia. And once we have just remarked how much there, and then I will remove all the medial osteophytes. So this is again important one, a little faster. Remember this, we had seen in the X-ray there was big piece there, we will try to remove that also, and we have to be very careful because that is an area which is very dangerous. We are playing with the medial collateral ligament. So you have to be very close to the bone and remove that. So that practically offloads the medial side of the tibia, and it will give length or offload the MCL. यार एक मुझे भी चाय दे दो। कॉफी चाय पीते हुए तो कॉफी वही लो यार, कुछ तो मिलेगा। And you see the tibia is getting a different shape, so probably I think we'll have to use a graft. But this is what at this time I may be thinking I'll be using a graft there. So take out all the medial side, you can palpate it and then try to take them out. It was absolutely jagged up knee, so have patience. Patience is the most important virtue every surgeon should have. Very slowly you take out all the small pieces. I'm not going for any release or any getting a periosteum or lifting anything. I'm just simply removing all the bony tissues which is there in the medial part of the tibia. Once I think I'm happy, and my your fingers are the biggest tool, unfortunately, whether you like it or don't like it. You palpate it, you can feel. When we cut the femur, we feel all the posterior part, whether there's a loose body behind or not. You cannot simply open everything. So I think this is a small defect, and the other knee I had done with a screw, and so this defect, I may go for a screw and a cement. So now everything is falling back into place. Now I'll go for femur. So I'm happy with the tibia, and let's see how it evolves. I'm not doing any release whatsoever now. No release, I'm simply removing all the osteophytes. So I'll just go proximal to the, though I love doing computer navigation, but now not in all, and when I want to demonstrate, I would like to demonstrate all the things. So we go proximal, make a hole just anterior to the cruciate, posterior cruciate attachment. Make a bigger hole, nothing great, they're all standard principles. And usually in a small patient, the valgus angle will be around 6. So if it is somewhere 5 plus it was in the long X-ray, so I'm going for a 6 degrees of cut. And then we measure again. So the distal femur which has been cut, we will measure again. Whether it is 9 degrees, sometimes it will be 8. So you can use your blade again to see that it is cut. The 9 millimeter will be only from the condyle which is distal. So sometimes it is medial, sometimes it can be lateral also. So we again measure it with the caliper, simple. It's 9, so fine, we are happy. We can go ahead, make a little smoothing there. And now the important thing is, so now the time has come to remove the medial osteophytes of the femur. And why now? Because now you can see them very well. It was very difficult to take it with the osteotomy and remove. Why you remove osteophytes then? Now, chai, coffee. So you can see the osteophytes on the disc cuts. It is very easily appreciable on the cut distal surface of the femur. So now you see, they will simply fall down. Even this osteophyte, which will be cut on the posterior condyle cut, but I want to remove them because you can see it offloads the medial collateral ligament. So now if we take out the femur, we can appreciate what is the femoral gap, posterior or flexion gap is going to be created. So that's very important. These are the osteophytes now I remove. Then I'll do the siding, and we can always check now. It will be still tight on the medial side, but I don't want to do any release. I never do release like this because the moment we use the posterior, we take out the posterior osteophyte, there's always some offloading of the MCS and the medial side again open. So I'll never do any. If the medial side looks tight, I'll just remove the meniscus now so that again it's little relaxed on the medial side, and that's it. So that's why I call it a stepwise. No hurry, go stepwise. When what is visible, we do that. So we have cut distal femur at proximal tibia, which was around 7 millimeter of cut or 8. We have cut distal femur, which is 9. So 9 and 8. It's 17 millimeter of gap, but we intend to fill it up with around 9 and 9, around 18 millimeter of gap. It was a tight knee. In case it would have been a loose knee, I would have cut even less tibia. So no ligament balancing at the moment. I'll just go and keep my jig. We have kept at 3 degree to start with, but it is variable angle. We can always get a variable rotation, whatever we want. But as rightly said in the first session, 50 to 60% of the knee will have 3 degree to 4 degree rotation. And the foot plates are there, so we can always assess before applying the pins also. 3 degree looks good, stable, it just doesn't open on any one side. Looks stable, so I'll go ahead and put up the pins. And then that is important. Before cutting, we can keep the jig and see how much the gap is rectangular or not. And that's very important. Before cutting, we can keep a spacer and see that the gap is rectangular. And how much the gap is there. It's 9 millimeter of insert and it looks very stable. That means the cut is going to be right. In case it would not, in case the gap was less, we could have taken the whole jig 1 millimeter proximal to make gap little bigger. If the gap was more, we could have taken at this moment 1 millimeter inferior. What important things we have to see? It should not notch the anterior femur. When we are taking it up, it should not cut the medial epicondyle or collateral ligament. So reason is very arbitrary, you can always watch it. If you wanted to rotate, you could have rotated it as well. So this is the time when you can play with your jig to plan your next cut. Not after cutting, no, it is so high on medial thumb. Before cutting this is very important. Before using this saw, everything we can visualize and plan. So after proximal tibia, distal femur, this is the most vital cut. The chamfer cuts are for the internal geometry of the implant. So that's absolutely no way related to your kinematics of the knee. And once you are happy, and will remove it. Still, remember, we saw that the medial side was tight. And still I am not doing anything. What I do, which I really think in osteoarthritic knee, is to take out the posterior osteophyte. The moment you take, the extension gap becomes more, and the MCL is offloaded when we take out the posterior medial corner of the medial condyle. But we must remember this soft tissue which are there. And we cannot just erase everything there. Your hand should be very gentle when you are doing it. Okay, I am doing for a notch cut also. I use my both hands, so that's an advantage to me. I can stand at one place and do everything without changing your hands or position. So this is, I still think, for getting a good outcome, this is a very vital step. And I have seen doctors not using this spreader. Laminar spreader is a very big tool if you want to check your ligament balances. 2 of them you must have in your arm. Very, very important tool. And we simply take out all the osteophyte from the posterior side. And you can see the white line there. So everything beyond that white line has to be taken out. The white line is the boundary of the condyle of the femur. So everything beyond that, the moment you put up, otherwise it will be very difficult to see. But if you put up a laminar spreader, you can appreciate that line and remove all the bone beyond that. Repeat the same step on the lateral side. though normally there are very less bone on the lateral side, and then you palpate with the finger and find out if there is anything there. I do remove the remnant of PCL there, and you have got a small artery there. The moment you cut it like this, it will bleed. But remember, any fat is a danger signal. You cannot go beyond that because the vessels are there. So you can see a patch of fat, and then you know you have reached your limit. You cannot still go on using your cautery there. You see, there's still big piece of bone there on the lateral side as well. We have seen the X-ray, so it was bound to be there. And now we can go for a trialing. So I have not done any release. I have simply taken out all the osteophyte from the tibia, femur, and now I'll go for trialing and see how it works. The whole axis has become good, and I have not done the 30-degree flexion deformity, but I have not done any distal cut or any extra posterior relief. I have simply taken out all the osteophyte. And you see, it has rocked well, the tracking is absolutely normal. So everything, friends, falls back into place. If we go stepwise, don't be aggressive. Stepwise, remove all the osteophyte. Identification of osteophyte is very important, and everything becomes normal. So now, yes, we go wait for cementation with the screws. I'll just try to show. That is just to show balancing and the alignment. It looks good. So I'll just finish up one and I'll show the X-rays by the cement. So the metal should not contact the metal. That's very important. So it's a beautiful walk again. This lady has. Any questions about exposure and meniscus part? So that becomes a strong thing, and that's why I always leave the medial meniscus also. The ring, which is the vascular portion, can be left on the medial and lateral both sides. You can leave it. So that protects the artery also. If I can see the punctured bleeding point, I'll coagulate. Yeah.
So, usually we all do with the mid-vastus approach. We do not do with mid-vastus approach. So sometimes we come across with, apart from this flexion deformity and varus, it's the stiff knee sometimes. So you don't have too much of a movement. At that situation, what would be your preference? Doing a quadriceps snip or a tibial
the moment stiff knees is there, I think mid-vastus, subvastus, all are excluded. That's why if the gold standard, that's rectus cutting approach, and it gives the same result after 1 year, and there are meta-analysis on that. But it gives us pleasure to do a mid-vastus or subvastus. We feel, yeah, patient is having less, so that's very individual. But I think mid-rectus approach will be best, and then you can do a pipe twisting and everything at the end. Then simply do all your knees. And then at the end, if you think that the knee is not flexing, then you can do a pipe twisting. Pipe twisting really works well in quadriceps rectus tendon.
Sir, distal femur cut, you always say 9
It's always because the distal thickness of the femoral implant is 9 mm. So what I am cutting, I am going to replace. On the tibial side, what I am cutting, I am replacing almost same or maybe more because the tibia is eroded. We are trying to recreate the joint line. So remember, if the femoral distal femur is eroded, then your implant is going posterior or proximal. Then I will not take a 9 mm because then I will be cutting much more. The joint line will be raised there. So we have to see that. So most of the time, one of the condyle is good, so your jig will sit on the good condyle and you will cut 9 mm. Yes,
Just one line.
Yeah.
If the knee is going into hyperextension,
Where you will find a lax knee going into hyperextension, don't cut lax. Then you need your clinical sense and distracting see how much it is eburnated, and then accordingly you cut.
That's very important. Then you cannot even try to do, then you will be very prudent to cut very less bone from distal femur as well and proximal tibial too. Because you want to make more stuff free. You cut less, replace with more. That is the idea.
You can cut later on if required.
Yeah, later on we are. So always be judicious and prudent in cutting less bone to start with. In valgus knee, that is the victim of doing a knee. Never try to cut more bone. Otherwise we will be left with a large gap.
In this patient you have managed postmortem defect with the screws. In which condition you will plan for grafting such a patient?
Grafting depends, that's why I said to Dr. when you are very apt, how much area is involved. But there are some things we always test, Dr. Anil will agree. You keep the tibia plate, if it rocks, that's one point where you need a cement or you need a graft. You need a stem and you need a graft.
How much is patient uncovered for planning for a graft?
How much?
Uncovered.
Not more than 20%. Maybe even people have then, but the moment it's more than 20%, you have to use a stem, reinforcement. Apart from graft. Because you have to keep on graft, पे आपका blood भी कम होना चाहिए, it has to be on. Then stem is must.
Increasing constraint and increasing...
Yeah, both.
No.
Constraint, then also you need a stem. The moment, that's a very vital point I wanted to ask to the panel when I was talking about constraint, but time constraint ho gaya. So the moment you go constraint, I think the stems are suitable or advisable. Next session, can we start? I think very interesting, Dr. Vijay Chacharji's video will be there. We all do it. And we all, I think, knee replacement, I never get a pulse rate increase, except in one case.
This is looking things. VDC's pictures.
We'll get for, sir. I think we'll get for. No issue. Discussions are always helpful, I think. And the whole concept of doing this talk on this.
Thank you very much. It's a real privilege and pleasure to be here. And my sincere thanks to the organizers of this wonderful meeting, and particularly to my fellows. Knee is not for a basic course. I think it is one of the most difficult situations that you can face. And I think it needs a good amount of experience and sagacity actually to proceed with this sort of procedure. It's not very common and it presents very special challenges. The reason why I say it's not part of a routine of a basic knee course is because this is a situation where you will need to modify what is standard technique and adapt depending on your experience and the situation. And because the outcome is less than satisfactory, so you will really need to sit and counsel these patients and be very, very selective about when you actually want to do it. If you see the literature, there are very few large series, most of them are really quite small, but one or two big series, as you can see, the range of motion achieved was quite compromised, and there are lots of complications, more than 50%. Infection rate is higher and the losing rate also is higher. So you do this surgery only when it is absolutely necessary. What are those situations? One, of course, is when this ankylosis is painful, and that happens most of the time when this ankylosis is fibrous. So there are two situations you can face. One is a complete bony ankylosis, which most of the time is really quite stable and painless, but a fibrous ankylosis can be quite painful. If the limb is in an unfavorable position, there is a significant length discrepancy, and if both the knees are involved, then this is a very, very tricky situation. So I would like to present my small series here of about 9 cases which we published. They're all really rheumatoid arthritis, burnt out disease. The patients had other comorbidities. They were really quite frail, apart from the knee disability. and range of flexion was either 0 or it was up to about 15 degrees. And we did a follow-up of about 5 years. The approach was medial parapatellar with Arthroplasty. This is something we did in the majority of the cases, and in 2 cases where we did not do a Arthroplasty, where the quadriceps was not all that much fibrotic, but we did a little tuberosity and fixed the bony fragment more proximally to gain quadriceps length. But what were important steps were the medial and lateral patellar retinacular releases, and there were also releases of the vastus medialis and lateralis, complete excision of vastus intermedius. We took care not to disturb the rectus femoris, because I think that's what gives the main strength to the quadriceps. And if you resect or you attenuate the rectus femoris, then you may end up with a quad structure. This is just a picture of what tubular osteotomy looks like. It gives very good exposure, no doubt, but you need to fix it back quite securely, otherwise you will have a significant quadriceps lag. So the difficulty is the tissues were all very, very fibrotic, inelastic, and they tended to rupture and tear, so you have to be very careful with that. The intraarticular adhesions of dense fibrous tissue, bony fusion of the patella to the femur, and partial or complete bridging of the tibiofemoral articulation. And the precautions you have to take care of soft tissue sleeve, the neurovascular bundle. The problem here is the knee is in extension, so you really can't flex it. You may have to do some of the cuts in extension, and in which case the neurovascular bundle becomes prone to damage, and you have to be very careful for that. So you need an to do an osteotomy at times to create the joint line, and you may need to do the tibial cutting extension. So this is the video. No, it's not. So, like I said, the patella may be completely or partially fixed to the femur, and after the soft tissue release, you may actually have to osteotomize that. And most of the time, because you have done an osteotomy and created a raw surface, you may actually need to replace the patella in these cases. But one has to be very careful, because you can actually get a fracture, or you can even avulse this patella from its attachment to the tibia. And apart from the bony ankylosis, there will be a lot of fibrous tissue which you will need to excise or remove the forceps. So you should be careful not to torque it too much to prevent avulsion. Most of the soft tissues are really quite attenuated. So you need to create a joint line, and I prefer to use an osteotome and do it very carefully. You need to spend time here. If you do it in a hurry, then you may place the joint line inappropriately. Now here, there are usually sufficient indications to tell you where the joint line is. The other thing what you can do is you can measure from the tip of the fibula, and that will give you another fairly accurate information. So this is the vastus intermedius that you can see that's been separated from the rest of the quadriceps, and this is generally very densely fibrotic, and this will need to be removed completely, apart from a medial and lateral retinacular release. And in Lotke's book there is a description of pile crusting the rectus femoris. So that's something which I have generally preferred not to do, because I think it can make the rectus very prone to rupture. So this is what I was saying, that you may actually need to take this is a technique modification. It's not running very well. I'll do it. Otherwise, go ahead.
देख लो जी
जहाँ से वीडियो लिया वो डायरेक्ट चलाता है।
Sorry. Let me. That was all right. He is not a So when you have cut your, you have made the joint line and then you take the tibial cut. As you can. So we use the saw but we don't cut all the way behind. But don't be too scared. You see, this is below the level of the popliteus muscle. And at this level, the popliteus muscle will protect the neurovascular bundle. But in any case, it is better to not to go all the way down with the saw, but you can make the initial cut and then complete it with the osteotomy. So this is completely in with the osteotomy. Now you will see that you will have a segment of bone between the distal, the tibial cut and the joint line cut, and that is a segment of bone that you will remove, and that will give you sufficient space to allow you to flex the knee. And once you flex the knee, then the rest of it is fairly routine. So that's that biscuit of bone that you can see between the two cuts that we will try to remove with the help of the osteotomy. This is at the end of the procedure. As you can see, very extensive medial and lateral releases, and the rest of the tibia is fairly routine. Once you flex it, you just routinely do the tibia just like in any other case. And here you see the flexion which is achieved on the table. It is a little more than 90 degrees. You must check for stability, and the knee should not be unstable in the coronal plane or in the sagittal plane. And as you can see, you have a fairly good range of movement. So after KF, this is a situation where I like to use the CPN. We keep the epidural anesthesia on for about 72 hours to facilitate the CPN. The knee range of motion and quadriceps exercises are started, and you can actually give stimulation to the quadriceps to just build up its strength. And the results in our series, we got about 90 to 100 degrees in most cases. At 6 months, however, they had diminished in quite a few to about 45 degrees, so the range we got was 45 to 90. But even that was fairly satisfying to the patient. They were all able to walk with or without walking aids on level ground. 7 patients could do stair climbing with some support. Quads, lag of 5 to 10 degrees was there in most patients, and knee brace was an additional knee support was required in 3. So like I said, not a very, very spectacular result, but in the context of the situation, it was more than acceptable. So we did have complications. Most important were the wound complications. About half the patients with prolonged discharge, delayed healing, skin necrosis. There were fortunately no cases of infection, although it's been reported in literature of obstructive heart incidents. And there was a delayed quads rupture in one patient. So in summary, TPR with Arthroplasty improves condition of patients with painful ankylosis in an unfavorable position. Careful patient selection and detailed preoperative counsel is absolutely mandatory. I think it's something that has to be done because expectations should be sort of toned down. The surgery is challenging. It requires deviation from standard techniques. You have to use your innovations. and it's probably best not to disturb a bony ankylosis or a surgical arthrodesis in a good position. And I would strongly recommend that I think surgically performed arthrodesis are best left alone. These are the references, and I wish you all a happy Navratri in advance. Thank you very much.
Which you said as a passing reference. Because in ankylosing, where exactly the joint line where you are going to put your osteotomy or soft in, this is very vital thing.
Yes.
So you say fibula, but what relation? And there are other identification factors which can visualize on the exposure of this.
So most of the time you can fairly accurately know where the joint line is. If you follow the contour, you know where the femoral contour ends and the tibial contour starts. That's number one. Number two, you can put a K-wire and take an X-ray and see exactly where you are. Or you can put two K-wires and take an X-ray. That will give you the plane. Preoperatively, you can measure from the tip of the fibula up to where you want the joint line to be, and you can replicate it on the table. So these are three of...
How much we measure from the tip of the fibula?
It's usually about 1 centimeter. So that you can put a scale and again take an X-ray and mark it off exactly where you are. So these are things you have to take time and you have to work out. And I agree that you may not be 100% accurate all the time.
25 to 30 from there would be.
I think Dr. Adil was saying in revision surgery we have got three things through which we know where the joint line should be. I think all those three landmarks can be used, I will say gently, to ascertain where the joint should be.
Every Dr. Chatterjee, most of the cases, the meniscus part of the meniscus is definitely there. You can find out the joint line it is there.
If it's fibrous ankylosis, yes. If it's a bony ankylosis, then sometimes that is also missing.
So before cutting, we have to see from tip of the fibula, medial epicondyle is a very good judge, and we all have got C-arms in the OT, so utilize them gently.
In the ankylosing of the outside, like rheumatoid, inflammatory, whatever it is, I think we can get some clue. But in the surgically fused knee, when there is orthopaedic by surgeon, then in those knees very quickly you can go in the hospital.
So personally, I am very, very reluctant to touch an orthopedic knee. Very honestly.
No, but they are the most gratifying patient I can get.
Suppose we
they are the most gratifying. I have done around 9 of them, and every one of them treats me like a god. So I am very happy.
No, but exactly we have to do the osteotomy.
What you said is very right. It's a combination of both. Because when we want to cut, it's a definitive cut. So even though your hunch will say, no, it looks like, but you want to check it. And I always say, there's no harm in checking. It should not reflect on your ego. So that's very important. You must check. That's why I said, in revision surgery, we try to know where the joint line is. Use all the indicators and use C-arm if necessary.
The greater difficulty is more than finding the joint line.
There should be joint line in the
surgery. Obliquity of the joint line. You might actually cut it obliquely. That is the problem with it.
Yeah, in a surgically fused knee, it is very difficult because we have got soft tissues which are damaged. And then it is difficult to know the joint line because surgeon probably has taken a cut on the femur and a tibia to get the cancerous bone exposed. So doing a TKR in a surgically fused knee is something I would like to do and offer Dr. B.D. Chatterjee as a surgeon for that operation. Because otherwise, if you have surgically fused and you have to convert it to TKR, then you have to use the patella as a reference because ultimately the joint line has to be such that your patella glide properly. Joint line going to up or down the patella, if they don't glide, glide over the femoral condyle, then it will not work well. So in a surgically fused knee, because you don't know how much bone is taken from the femur and the tibia to fuse the knee by primary surgeon, you must use patella as a guideline so that your eventual, the joint level should be such that patella will be in a proper position. So I will not worry about the condyle and other things. Patella is the more important.
Dr. Prashad, did you end up with a shortening in these knees which you corrected?
No, I did not encounter shorting. In fact, I was surprised because frankly I have never done anything in a surgically fused knee. I have always done on the rheumatoid, and one was a septic arthritis in young age, which was fused. So this is my whole experience. 8 of them are rheumatoid. So there's always fibrous, there's partial bony enclosure, so that was not a big thing. One was definitely the septic one where the patella was also fused, also addition there. In all the cases I was surprised. It looks fused, but the moment we opened up, I always use a 10mm insert. In all of these, I had to use a thicker insert because the moment it flexed, it was difficult. So in all, I had to use a thicker insert. That was the only downside.
Yeah, so shortening is not a problem with rheumatoid. All my cases were rheumatoid. But if surgically fused knee, I don't know whether it is a problem.
Surgically, I think Dr. Venjay, you were right. They should be sent to you.
Dr. Chatterjee sir, I just have a question. As you have done many, and Dr. Prasad sir has also done many. So do you feel we can get away with a hinge knee in surgically or a rheumatoid fused knee? Doing a hinge knee can be a better solution, and easy solution.
I do not know better, but definitely it's always a backup plan when you're doing it. Always. Whenever I have done, it was there in my operation. I was always prepared in case it is required, I will do any.
So did you do any like
See, I would prefer to use a hinged knee in the other extreme, that is the extremely unstable knee. That's where I would like to use a hinge. In this, actually, you can eventually get away without a hinge. The problem here is most of these patients are actually between 55 and 60. They're not very old patients. That's one reason. Secondly, the bone is quite porotic. And thirdly, and the soft, the bone is porotic and the soft tissue is tough. So this will subject the hinge to tremendous torsional forces. So I would be worried about the longevity of using a hinge in these situations. In the other extreme, where it is extremely unstable, and tending to dislocate, where the soft tissues are attenuated, that's where I think the hinge fits in very well. It's a very quick solution.
To take down a fusion, your medial collateral ligaments are well. I don't think you should consider a hinge because I think that's a wrong approach. Once you take down a fusion, your medial and lateral collaterals are quite strong, and if you do your appropriate releases, you will be able to get away even with a PS or probably a slightly increased constraint. I think your hinge doesn't come into the picture for a fused knee. Establishing your joint line, and remember even for your hinge, it is not as though you can pay less attention to your soft tissue balancing. Establishing the joint line is very important.
Sir, very difficult case. Just one question, when you're taking the cut and extension, what are the chances injury to the vessels behind? How do you avoid that?
Yeah, so I have already mentioned, and you need to worry about that. You see, in the tibia, level of the joint, number one, if you are cutting the femoral condyles, and if you sort of wander into the midline, that's where you can cut the vessels. The second is that I don't use I've done briefly, very honestly, in my career I've done only 9 or 10 cases. So I don't cut use the saw right up till the end. I use it feeling. Once I get the feeling, then I use a sharp osteodome to complete the cut. Another thing what you can do is, if you can, but it's very difficult, is that if you can put in a blunt bone behind, directly behind the bone to protect. But you can do this in a high tibial osteotomy because the soft tissue is normal. But it's very difficult to do here because it is extremely tough and you will tend to rupture the tissue. So this is, I agree that it's a problem, and obviously I would be concerned about universal damage.
Because if you take the saw down also, there would be a bridge of bone still left behind, right? And then you cannot flex it to the
No, you see, once you've taken out that biscuit of bone, then you can flex the knee. Once you flex the knee, get the femur out of the way, you can use a niggler or a cutter to take out the remainder of the bone.
Okay, friends.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. And now, friends, we will start with the case discussion. The panel discussion, I think we have got, the discussion is going on a lot on all the things. So it will keep on happening on the cases as well. So we will start with the case presentation. And for that, You remember we are getting the best paid presentations do get the prize as well. So the panelists and the judges both are requested to come in front row so they can. I do not know Sandeep has come or no. Dr. Sandeep Garg has come. आप तो आइए आगे. Ashish Kumar is here. Yeah. So Ashish Kumar will moderate the whole session with the cases and he will ask relevant questions to the presentation and to the panelists also. आपके सारे panelists सामने मान लो. So Ashish will be coordinating the case presentation. और तुम्हारे पास teaching vote रहेगा. जिसको तुमने अगर बैलेंस हुआ तो your vote will decide who will get the prize. So now the mic is with you.
EKR in a recurrent knee dislocator. So this is my presentation and this is what I am going to present. The history as given by the patient, she is a 74-year-old lady and she has been having recurrent knee dislocation since 1973. As we don't have the documents with us, she says that an open surgery was done on her left knee in 1984. She was told that it is not successful, the ligaments are not there, and even if they are there, they are non-functional. And she was advised to use a brace always, and she was told that she will not be able to walk without a brace. She was living her life with a brace, but she went to another surgeon in 1999 and they suggested an arthroscopy in 1999. In during this surgery also the suggestions or the advice which was given to the patient was the same, that the ligaments are not at all functional and she has a hyperlax knee and the PCL and ACL and PCL are congenital, absent or non-functional. She has been adjusting her, and this is how lax. This is showing the medial lateral laxity on the unoperated side, the right side, and this is showing the medial lateral laxity on the left side. As you can see, it's hyperlax. The right side hyperextension is about 5 degrees. The left side hyperextension is about 30 degrees. I wanted to perform an anterior draw test, but she was very much apprehensive for the thing, and I could not perform it. So this is the left knee, correctable varus, medial lateral laxity, hyperextension of 30 degree, and apprehension positive. This was the right knee, correctable varus with joint line tenderness and medial lateral laxity. And this is the first X-ray that she shows to us. So the next thing which we want to look for is how much her ligaments are working, how much globally all anterior, posterior, medial lateral ligaments are lax. So we told her to show us another X-ray, and this is how her X-ray looks like after reduction. So this is the X-ray before, after dislocation, and this is after reduction. So the next step which we do usually in such cases are the varus valgus stress views, and this is the varus valgus stress view of the left knee which is dislocating. It gave us an idea that the lateral side is lax. The medial side is not that lax. The varus is correctable, and this is a lateral view on the left side. This is the right side, which was not operated or dislocated. We discussed everything with the patient regarding the use of hinges and constraints. To look further, we advised her to get an MRI. The left side knee showed absent ACL and PCL with buckled up LCL and a present MCL. The right side, ACL was absent, PCL was there, and MCL and LCL was normal on the right side. So at this stage, we discussed everything with the patient, that this is the first time she is going to get a primary knee, and the entire strategy will revolve around how less the constraint we can use. Because using a hinge straight away for a primary knee would be a bad idea. So, as we discussed with the patient, she was very practical in using her words, and she says that, sir, please operate on the right side first, and if I'm happy with the right side, we can move for the left side next time. So we went and operated the normal side.
Can we stop now and let's see how panelists think in this case. We would like to see what you have done. What was the radiology report? Is absent ACL and PCL in
on the left side.
On the left side. Sir, what do you think should be done?
First of all, I would like to roll out the neuropathic joint.
I've already ruled out no other minor.
MRI is normal.
Yes.
No condition study was done.
Normal, sir.
Operations is normal.
Yes, normal.
So we are going to operate on the right side. That's what
Yeah.
plan is.
We chose to operate the right side first because that was chosen by both patient and me.
Most probably we'll go with the C74 years.
Yeah.
So we'll try to use the primary, if at all on table you find it, the measurements are not okay. We'll keep a constraint as a backup.
So, and for the left side, as can be seen in this X-ray.
Left side, the cortisol functioning is good.
Yes,
free of extensor mechanism.
Yes, sir.
So extensor mechanism is good. Still, we'll keep a constraint as a backup.
So what level of constraint? A rigid,
Maybe I'll have
a rigid hinge, a rotating hinge.
A rotating hinge, probably I'll keep it.
Any other panelists who would like to advise?
Yeah, I think this is the right knee, and this is the right knee, right?
So this is the left knee, which is the main
X-ray on this side?
Same knee after reduction.
After
It keeps dislocating in two
I think basically we have to keep dislocating. We have to keep an LCCK type of knee as 374.
So LCCK will be a varus valgus constraint, not
we are talking about varus valgus constraint because PS won't suffice and 374. So I don't think we have to hesitate too much in using a hinge because you want to give her a good balance, good joint line and good function.
Here, we anyway remove ACL and PCL, right? We keep medial and lateral collat ligament. So if the patient is dislocating, we can even do it with a primary knee probably. We just will see on table how much balance
I
you
think you
get.
have to see on. But
You don't have to, I mean, you can keep constraint with and etc. ready, but my prediction is this knee can be done with just a simple primary postage stabilized knee.
And if you see carefully, currently the normal side, right side X-ray, varus valgus knee. So I totally agree with in that.
This is the left side.
The right side. See, the right side laxity is much more. As compared to the left side.
Yes.
After reduction, left side seems to be more stable on stress X-rays. So you might not require it at all. You might require at the most PS knee or PC knee. That's all.
Any diverse opinion? Anyone?
no, I think, Harish, my only argument is the right side, especially when it's dislocated so many times. How many times did she say?
She dislocated every 2 to 3 years.
Every 2 to 3 years. So there obviously is some amount of deformation that your medial collateral and your lateral collateral has undergone. Simply because the X-ray is gone, you look at a dislocated X-ray, it's completely gone in front.
That's correct. That's correct.
So what I'm saying, no, I'm not saying directly hinge. I'm saying you need at least.
Yeah, in a reduced position when they took varus valgus stress view, they are looking better than actually the opposite knee which has never dislocated.
So how heavy is she?
So the dislocation is because
How
of.
heavy is she?
So she's 85.
No. Weight, body weight, BMI.
BMI was 28.
20. Even then, CC74, you would like to give her a stable knee without a problem. So if on table, if you're getting a PS, absolutely good stability, no medial lateral opening up, and you're happily.
I will just use a simple PS.
Yeah, no, that's
table
what.
flexion is there. And most likely, probably I can do it like this.
Correct. So
although I'll keep TC3 ready,
Correct.
TC3 will not give me added front to back stability.
No.
Just give middle and stability.
Correct. So that is the only thing. In a 74, you would not like to take a chance to basically have a dislocation or leave room for laxity. So if you're absolutely stable with the PS, go with the PS. Otherwise, keep the TC3 or PVC as a backup.
As I said, you do not anyway need PCL, ACL in a TC. We anyway remove that.
Basically, we had find out the recurrent cause of the recurrent dislocation, whether it is neuropathic or not. If it is
There
neuropathic,
is no neuropathy. We've already gotten the MRIs, we've already got the status of the ACL, PCL, MCL, and LCL in both the knees. So,
if it is neuropathic cause of the recurrent dislocation, I think then we need the.
how much recovered? On the left side it was 30 degrees.
How can you balance a 30-degree curvature with a knee?
30 degrees of recurvator.
Yes, I
Yeah, that's what I was coming to. So the only problem that we see is the recurvatum which is there on clinical exam.
Then it's
Now that makes, I mean, even if we use a TC3 or an LCCK type of implant, it will help with the jump distance in terms of even with the dislocation. However, it will not correct the hyperextension. So it will either have to be, which obviously depends on what you see clinically. But yeah, if there is hyperextension, then a hinge should be on the table.
So we correct so many needs with hyperextension with primarily stabilized PSD.
Exactly. So we definitely.
That's bony cuts, that's all. That's bony cuts, that's extension space. That will solve the problem.
We don't need hinge for hyperextension, we just have to cut less bone, that's it.
Exactly. So when I look into the literature, we can find DKR in an FFD, we can find DKR in a hyperextension, but we don't find DKR in a congenital absence of ACL and PCL. So that's the reason why this case is being presented, because this definitely tickles your brain cells. So
we have to 100% sure no neuropathy.
So no neuropathy.
Whatever test we have, we rule out 100% neuropathy. Whatever test we have,
End of the day,
positions
you're
and this and that sense.
So we don't want to take chances.
Is there a
So,
body
you
trap?
don't want a dislocation.
No, MRI doesn't.
End of the day, at a 7-4-year-old, you don't want instability.
As I said, at the end of the day, we have to find an equal balance between the balance. We have to have a balanced knee as well as a stable knee. So we have to use least constraint possible for the patient to give the best function possible for that patient. So as we move ahead,
Just one question. When you want the best function at her age, what is your criteria of best function? You want a unhindered locomotion and every day, all day activities, or you want her to jump and run? So you see everything boils down to what exactly is the patient's expectation and what is the type of work she is doing.
Exactly. So as Chatterjee sir said rightly, that in the extreme of the conditions, as in these cases, using a S1 noise hinge or a rotating hinge would be a better idea or an easier idea. But the question is, can we move ahead with the most constrained knee in a primary? Do we think of revisions after 10 years or so?
74 very worried. Rotating things have a good survival now, almost 95% survival at 10 years. I'm not worried about longevity in 74. I would rather worried about failure of years.
Even doing a hinge doesn't mean you don't balance it, or doesn't mean you don't
You have taken a lateral view, inflection and distraction, see how much the space opens up. If it is abnormally large, then you might think of it reflects the distraction. Get an idea.
You see, we are missing one important point what he was saying, that lady is missing ACL and PCL. That's true, but she doesn't have a good posterior capsule and good posterior function as well. Because our joints rely heavily on the quadriceps function and the posterior capsule bracing of the joint. So that's very important, that our posterior wall is deficient the way it is moving anteriorly. So we must keep into mind that aspect also before giving her an articulation. I think.
What did you do?
Just
PhD?
proceed.
Go ahead. He must have done a PhD, that's why he's
So
vehemently opposing the hinge.
No, I'm not opposing the hinge. I definitely kept it with me.
No, go ahead.
So we chose to operate the right side first because that gave us also the confidence. And during the surgery, I observed that even I'm a female. So on the right side, we could get away with minimal bone cuts like 7 mm on the femur, 6 mm on the tibia, and I could get away with a primary knee using a 10 mm insert. I'm a femur first guy, and there was no ACL in this particular case. The PCL was there, and this gave us the courage. The right knee was operated in 2018, and we decided that we operate the left side in 2019 now. And this is how she looks like before the surgery. And we will also see the opposite leg 1 year follow-up that is not going to hyperextension. This is how her knee was behaving just after the arthrotomy. So I could do a draw test right now. Okay, so As soon as we opened, I'm a femur first guy, I observed that there was no LCL and the lateral epicondyle was skeletonized. There was some lateral fibrous structure running from superior to distal, but there was no LCL per se. So immediately I changed my plan from PS to TC3 first, because there was no functioning LCL. And as you can see, I had cut only 5 mm of femur in this case, and there was no ACL or PCL on the tibia. These are the bone cuts after, this is a flexion and this is after during preparation of the tibia. This is how it looks on table, fully stable in straight knee. I could get away with a TC3 component in this, and I was happy that I did not use a hinge in this particular case. And this is how it looks. There was some jerk during the full extension in this particular case. And this is how it looks immediately post-op. This is how it looks at 2 months, and this is how she is behaving at 3 months.
My question is, I mean, she's doing extremely well for sure. My question to you is a semi-constrained knee the implant of choice for collateral insufficiency?
So, my protocol would be, if I have a good MCL functioning without an LCL, I would go for a varus valgus constraint, or TC3 or an LCC.
Okay, fair enough. So as long as the functions are coming fine, I'm okay with it. But I mean, she's an obese lady. She's got a number of things going on, and she's 73, 74. I think for me, looking at what you found intraoperatively, a hinge would have been the implant of choice.
Any other opinions?
When you say intraop, we did not have a lateral collateral seal. That means your pre-surgery reduction varus valgus X-ray were not right, because they didn't show any opening laterally, even less compared to the normal right side. So maybe those X-rays were not done right and they were completely misleading, because if you reduce the knee and get a proper varus valgus X-ray, and if there is no LCL, the knee has to open laterally. There is nothing to stop it.
Yeah, but then the stress views were not showing.
The problem is stress were not done right and they could be misleading, because if you don't have a collateral ligament, either medial or lateral, then TC3 may not be a very good option, because that box and cam will eventually wear out.
Yeah.
In that scenario, if it is completely unstable, then you must have a hinge, because TC3 will end up into off in your leg. Long run, not now, but maybe 3, 4, 5 years down the line.
You are saying collateral is deficient.
I think Dr. Ashish was very sure the LCL is being, I do not know how.
You should have used a stem on because it's very important, but usually
Either the component is flexed or it's going to
So, because I've used a constraint implant, that's why I used.
in fact, aid in the post-wear. And that's, I mean, especially when you're bordering on instability.
Conceptually, you have to add, if you are using a TC3 or a constraint,
both femur and the tibia.
both femur and tibia should have.
looking at the pre-operative images, intraoperatively, incurvated properly, still I would have done a hinge. I don't know, long term, 1 year down the line, I don't know whether the posterior capsule will be good enough to support it.
This was my intra-op findings, so I was happy with it. So I chose to use a lesser constraint. That's it.
It can stretch out. I have a patient.
But always, just for future, use a stem for the femur also.
Yeah, sure.
Any question from the audience? Anybody? We go.
Hi, greetings from Sam. I'm going to present a case of open knee replacement in a valgus knee with huge neuromuscular deficit as well. This is a 55-year-old male, old history of cerebrovascular accident, lumbar canal stenosis and diameter around L4, L5, 9 mm, and a foot drop on the right side, and valgus knees bilaterally, 20 degrees on the right and 20 degrees on the left, erected. and that's the radiology. The plain X-rays, CT scan can confer any other information what X-ray showing.
Any other thing you have done as an investigation? Apart from
source of recurrent UTI.
Did you exclude incense?
Excuse me, sir?
Did you exclude incense?
No,
Incense was excluded.
there were no skin lesions, sir. There was nothing to suspect a skin lesion. Or leprosy like that.
Food drop in incense could be even without any skin lesion.
But then we had a organic cause for it. He had sustained a CVA, he had tuberculosis cirrhosis. So maybe even they didn't even think of it, to be honest. But no skin lesions, and there was nothing which would actually bring our attention towards cancer disease.
So what you did, let's see, then we'll discuss why you were there.
We actually considered these management options. First of all, I talked to a neurosurgeon that let's go for a discectomy and do some orthotic correction, maybe give a hinge, knee, RO, and brace, because once again, you have to prognosticate this. Is a case of CVA with all this neuromuscular deficit, never even considered of, with a relative contradiction, didn't even consider arthroplasty by that time, he visited me in the OPD. And then the collector was charging me, maybe give him a little closing video starting immediately and give him just me with right axis and the right alignment. And last but not the least, I was very, ready to touch this patient, so I better thought of giving him alone so that he should go somewhere else. But then he stuck with us and we decided to go with arthroplasty because the neurosurgeon said he is not going to have any improvement in the foot drop even if we do a discectomy because of the prolonged history and the way he had the CVA. They were also not really willing to do classification. And tendon transfer, but again the dorsiflexors were also grade 3 or 3 plus, not even 4 plus. So then this was also a little option we considered. And then the kind of implants, of course, the previous lecture was also almost about this. Relaxed knees, user constrained, semi-constrained, and normal, conventional. And then of course we had this arch that because if we correct this huge awareness, we might, we might develop peroneal palsy on the left side as well. We already had a foot drop on the right side, we might develop the same. So, although this is not relevant, but just to show, I do all my evaluations with lateral parameter approach. And this is what we did. These are post-operative radiographs. And we were just lucky, or the laxity that was there was only because of the neuromuscular deficit, and it wasn't any ligamentous insufficiency, or there was no disability on walking or doing anything after that. And post-operatively, he had bilateral foot drop. We already had it on the right side and he had it on the left side as well while we operated upon it. We really put the decision whether we've done it right or should we have done, should we really have left it alone. And at least I should have done it. And this is how he walks like 3 to 4 weeks post-operatively, unsteady gait, probably CVA, and he's using foot drop strut on both the feet.
Patient is happy.
Doctor is happy.
Patient is also equally happy, sir. I shake you.
So many questions I think will come up to our mind. Was it right decision to operate? That's number one.
Yeah.
Should have been investigated further so that the lesion what was there, if it's going to be progressive in nature or no. And what else could have been done? Because everyone wants the patient should be comfortable in whatever position he is. So with that thing, I think we can fire away our expert, starting with Dr. Bende. What do you think?
Hello. It's very important that when we treat elderly patients with arthritic knee, they also have got associated spine problem. And it is not uncommon to find patient with knee problem also the back issue. And if they have got a significant back issue, you must, according to me, settle back issue first before tackling the knee. Because I always refer the patient to my colleague who is a spine surgeon, ask him, do you think how serious it is? Can he wait or should he go ahead? Because I don't know, when he was walking, this gait looked almost like a spastic gait. I am worried whether it's not just a disc issue, it may be something higher in the spine, whether you had a full limb spine MRI scan and whether it's
sorry, I haven't shown this in the slides, but he had this.
Second thing is when you get just a motor palsy but no sensation, it's very difficult to accept that it could be because of a spine issue. Because whenever you get a spine problem because of compression, you first get hypoesthesia, and then if you don't correct it, you end up into a muscle paralysis or weakness in EHLED or dorsiflexus. So it's difficult to digest why he should get pure motor palsy with normal sensation before surgery. So you must investigate him further before doing the job.
That's what we consulted our neurosurgeons for. They are the ones who operate spine over there, and this is what, like you were saying, this is how we narrated the incident. That first of all, it's going to be the sensory part, motor part later. Sensory part recovers, the motor usually doesn't. If it's delayed enough. This is what he has come to us.
What sensory? He has undergone spine surgery before your operation.
No, he hasn't undergone. That's what I told you. I showed it to my neurosurgeon that whether we should get a discectomy done and first correct the spine issue first. This is what I really do. I refer all my bilateral TKI patients to the spine surgeon first.
Because I am worried about they worsening in the spine and then it is blame on your surgery that the surgery caused further increase in the leg. Very common thing to happen.
So this guy came asking for euthanasia later. When I just sent him back for the first time, he said, okay, they give me something that I am really pissed off with my life.
So many questions would have been answered if you had shown the MRI of the patient.
Yes, definitely.
Secondarily, unstable patient, you need bilateral arthroplasty, and if he gets a fall and with a periprosthetic fracture, there will be a disaster again, I think.
Doctor, you showed this.
I collected all the data that I had yesterday night and I made this presentation. So this I showed to me some 3, 4, 5 months back with a boy on his arm. I don't recognize this. He looked much younger. He was walking fine. We had this prosthetist make him a foot drop front on the right side, which still hasn't recovered. Make this bend, which he can wear under his shoes, very soft, and he just walks just like a normal person. It's very hard to actually even examine this patient who was ever walking like that. And this was very
the patient is happy. If there is a problem in the spine and a problem in the knee, which should be tackled first?
Spine first.
So I think that will be very clear.
So I would like to add something. We have a spine injury with Professor Rajshekar and Ajay. All the cases we cross-refer each other. So patient with neurological deficit, we address the spine first. That's a rule. In this patient, I would have asked the spine surgeon to see whether you can at least to delay progression, whatever deficit will happen, to delay further or avoid further progression, spine surgery would happen because only a spine problem. So mix of spine with the CA, I don't know what your surgeon thought.
That's what we did, sir. We did consult with you.
So even if there is lumbar canal stenosis, the drop, avoid further deterioration. That's why I asked you whether the patient has incontinence. So they will deteriorate further, they will develop incontinence, they will develop further weakness. To stop that, you will require spine surgery. Second thing, if we have instability of both spine and knee, we operate knee first. So that once you do the knee, the instability of the spine will reduce, so that the spine fusion will be more successful. There are two situations.
For spondylolisthesis, but then because there is a cause in knee arthritis, so that is a different ballgame. But once the deficit is there, then even listhesis should be fixed first.
Third thing, some patients present late, probably like this, not treated at all, or they have a previous spine problem, like if you go to spine or trauma, they come late. Then we need to ask the patient, what is your problem? They all complain that they are not able to walk. We need to identify which is causing problem, the deficit or the knee pain. So in this patient, I give an injection to the knee, ask them to walk in the hospital. If that gives good relief further from pain, but still they are going to walk with this foot drop type of way. They have good relief after the injection, then we go ahead and do the knee replacement. They don't have a relief, they are still struggling to walk. That is due to the neurological deficit, not due to the knee arthritis. You need to identify this and then go ahead. These three things we do.
Dr. Prashan just wanted to know whether he
want to take home message to operate upon any
patient is that way. Let's talk about the concept. That we are talking about some concept. Here benefited the patient, that's true. but that will not change the concept. One exception doesn't make the rule, friends, that you must remember.
That is definitely not the take home message that operate upon any neuromuscular deficit the moment you see a deformed knee. But yes, definitely we have to take the call. This is how it was taken. Consulted the neurosurgeon, he refused for the surgery. He said there is not going to have probably any improvement in his foot drop. I don't know what he says. I didn't really question him why he was saying that way. He had PCB. I didn't want to operate on him. But then this guy asked me, euthanasia. I just feeling him. I can't get to the loo and I usually urinate in my pants. So just make me walk somehow. Do whatever you want. And this is how we took the call.
In this patient, I think, sir, deformity correction was also a big issue. That has been corrected after this, beyond the pain only.
We are talking about concept. The patient apparently after 4 months looking much better, his walk is much better, so everything is good, but we should know what the concept is.
Sir, I have a question for the panelists and everyone. If this patient, what impact his knee is going to have and how his gait is going to be?
Ankle arthrosis, generally we do it when there is an advanced neuropathic arthritis in the ankle. Till then we use a talocalcium infusion. We do it only if there is severe instability, patient is not buckling while walking. Till then we place them. We never do ankle arthrosis just for a foot drop.
So how does it impact your knee? Is there any concern by fixing the ankle, how the gait is going to be?
The whole thing will have a lot of impact on the knee. Foot drop, neuropathic joint will have an impact on the knee. I would have used a more constraint here to prevent these stresses, but it will impact the knee, it will reduce the longevity of the knee. You need to counsel them pre-op. You cannot do anything about it.
And the dorsiflexors of the toes would still be, will not be treated even if you treat with ankle arthrosis.
Over here. And this is the third case. And this is a case of severe FFP and virus. So a lot have been discussed about it today. So she is a 77 years female, short lady, bilateral FFP 30 degree, bilateral virus 25, range of motion